that had a huge impact on you going into television.
Oh, sure.
To Scheindlin, justice must not only be done and seen to be done, it must be seen to be done fast.
Could you please move on, Miss Allen? I have about 20 other cases to do today, Counselor.
From that 60 Minutes piece, a couple of years later, two of the girls from the People's Court called me in my chambers and said, would you ever think of doing this? And it was from that came the show. I went out to California, and Larry Little said, if you sign on the dotted line, I'll make a pilot. And that was it.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. The people are real. The cases are real. The rulings are final. This is Judge Judy.
It was a risk.
It was a risk. I knew I would have to go back to work if it didn't work out. But they paid me enough the first year, which was a guarantee, so that I was making in that first year 3 times as much as I was making on the bench. And so I figured I had a 3-year grace period
to make it work.
To make it work, then go back and find a job and find something else. Fortunately, it worked out just fine. The producers who work for me are hardworking, wonderful people. Many have been with the program for over 20 years. Our supervising producer started with us, now going into its 22nd season. Other than at holiday parties, I don't have a conversation with them. Ever. And I don't want to speak to a producer.
Because you want it to be fresh on the bench.
Because it's got to be fresh on the bench, and it has to be my sense of justice. Because if the American public was interested in what a producer thought about this case, they would give the producer a black dress, and they could go out and judge. So I want a complaint and an answer just as a judge gets, and then go out and figure it out myself.
You talked about your style. You are a very opinionated judge.
Shh, listen to me. I'm older, smarter. If you live to be 120, you're not going to be as smart as I am in one finger. Do you understand? You better go see a good therapist, madam. You need a good therapist. Is he still your boyfriend?
No.
Shh. Thank God for small favors. There's a difference, Harvey, between saying to someone, your conduct is disgusting, and saying to them, you're disgusting. But I try not to be gratuitously nasty just for the sake of being gratuitously nasty, because that's what some of the public likes to see. I don't. They don't keep me in this job, Mr. Saros, because I'm young and lithe and beautiful. They keep me in this job because I'm smart. I don't get into a backstory. That's Dr. Phil. We don't do Dr. Phil here.
But the personality of Judy is the same on the bench.
Yes, you don't.
And on TV.
Yes. Otherwise, it would be work. And I don't like to work. This isn't work. This last 22 years has been one grand party.
So you divorced him, and then you remarried him.
And I really found out, and this is not to denigrate your species, actually. Most men are alike. Mine had hair.
You...
I will never
wash my hair again.
Now, I feel it.
Pantene is the first shampoo and conditioner system with active Pro V nutrient blends that fuel 100% stronger hair.
Because strong is beautiful.
Billy Goat Ruffians. Seen it, covered it. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
I wanted to know who I am and where I came from. I did my ancestry DNA, and I couldn't wait to get my pie chart. The most shocking result was that I'm 26% Native American. I had no idea. Just to know this is what I'm made of, this is where my ancestors came from, and I absolutely want to know more about my Native American heritage. It's opened up a whole new world for me.
Discover the story only your DNA can tell. Order your kit now at AncestryDNA.com.
ship everything you can imagine. And everything we ship has something in common. Whether it's expedited overnight or shipped around the globe, it's handled by OD employees who know that delivering freight means delivering promises. OD, helping the world keep promises.
I work overtime when I can get it. I need my blood sugar to stay in control.
I need to cut my A1C.
Weekends are my time. I need an insulin that fits my schedule.
Traceba is used to control high blood sugar in adults with diabetes. Don't use Traceba to treat diabetic ketoacidosis during episodes of low blood sugar or if you are allergic to any of its ingredients. Don't share needles or insulin pens. Don't reuse needles. The most common side effect is low blood sugar, which may cause dizziness, sweating, confusion, and headache. Check your blood sugar. Low blood sugar can be serious and may be life-threatening. Injection site reactions may occur. Tell your prescriber about all medicines you take and all your medical conditions. Taking TZDs with insulins like Traceba may cause serious side effects like heart failure. Your insulin dose shouldn't be changed without asking your prescriber. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing, fast heartbeat, extreme drowsiness, swelling of your face, tongue, or throat, dizziness, or confusion. Ask your healthcare provider if you're Traceba ready. Covered by most insurance and Medicare plans.
Traceba ready.
Vikings didn't actually have horns on their helmets.
Ostriches don't really stick their heads in the sand.
A peanut is not a nut.
And a real John Deere is actually real affordable.
You learn something new every day. The surprisingly affordable John Deere E-Series tractors. Now you can own America's tractor for just $99 a month. Learn more at your John Deere dealer.
Andre is an air traffic controller. When it comes to planning the best routes, nobody does it better. He's also a championship-winning football coach. Look at that formation. But when it comes to mortgages, he's less confident. Fortunately for Andre, there's Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. It's simple, so he can understand the details and be sure he's getting the right mortgage. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently.
Fox News Channel on Sirius XM. Your favorite shows on Channel 114. Plus, every story, every 15 minutes. Fox News headlines 24/7 at Channel 115.
We spoke a little while ago. I said we had a blended family. They started, I think, when Jerry and I got together, Adam was 5 or 6. These are the 5 kids, all grown up. That's Gregory, who's married and has 2 little kids. And that's Jonathan, and that's the baby. That's Nicole. That's Jamie. She's sort of in the middle. And that's Adam. We have 13 grandchildren from 3 to 29.
When you left to go on your own after the divorce, how quickly did you get involved with Jerry?
I would say not more than a month. Now, I wouldn't say to you I was looking a day before I left. A little insurance isn't bad either. I like to be mated. It's natural for me to be mated.
You've never really been on your own.
No. I like to have somebody to fuss over. I do.
You've got this strong, independent woman on one side and a woman who says, I want to be mated, I want to fuss over somebody on the other.
That's fine. That means that I can relate to people.
How quickly did you marry him? You met him a month after you left
Oh, my
Rome.
God, I would have married him. I would have married him 2 days after I met him. I was so crazy about it, but we didn't marry for a year. We fight and we argue and we have terrific fights, but that's something that you can't quite put your finger on, when he behaves himself. I still like to see him walk in a room. He still looks good. Jerry's going to be 84 at his next birthday. He knows that he's got to keep a reasonable physique or else he's out the door.
So there was a rough patch here. When you and Jerry divorced.
Jerry was always very involved in Jerry and Jerry and his kids. And I always knew that the one person who I could totally rely on all the time and who had my back all the time, and I was #1 priority, especially after my mother passed away, was my father. And when my father passed away, I said, I really wanted him to pick up the slack. I, took care of us and the 5 kids and made sure everybody got their birthday present and made sure we had the appropriate parties and I sort of took care of things. And I said, okay, now it's your turn. I felt that he really wasn't there then. Wasn't there enough, and I felt badly. I was so sad when my father died that an easier emotion for me to deal with was being angry at my husband for not picking up the slack than dealing with the sadness of the loss. I just had to come to terms with the fact that men of that generation are different. They expect, even if they have no right, they expect to be taken care of and catered to.
So you divorced him, and then you remarried him.
I did. I missed him. I did a little dating during that time. I'm absolutely positive he did too. And I really found out, and this is not to denigrate your species, actually. Most men are alike. Mine had hair. They're not natural nurturers.
You have an incredible soft spot for your children.
I do. I adore them. And I try to make their lives as comfortable as I can because I adore them. Most people, what they leave behind, their footprint is their children and their grandchildren. And we have nice, responsible, good citizen children who all do their thing responsibly. We're very lucky. And they're very loving to both of us, to both Jerry and myself. All of them are very loving to both of us. That's your footprint.
You a feminist?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know what that means.
Pain used to shut me down during pickup games. But with odor-free Blue Emu Continuous Pain Relief Spray, I can box out any muscle or joint pain immediately. Blue Emu Continuous Pain Relief Spray. It works fast, and you won't stink.
My daughter is studying to be a dentist, and she gave me advice. She said, Dad, go pro with Crest Pro Health.
4 out of 5 dentists confirm these Pro Health products helped maintain a professional clean. Go pro with Crest Pro Health.
Crest Pro Health really brought my mouth to the next level.
I had so many reasons for not losing weight, for putting it off. Sound familiar? It's time to take control with Nutrisystem.
Introducing new Lean 13 from Nutrisystem. Lose up to 13 pounds and 7 inches overall in your first month. Lose weight fast. Money back guaranteed.
You gain energy, you improve your health, and you lose weight. I'm Marie, and I lost 50 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Order your 28-day plan right now. With Lean 13, you'll get specially designed meals, plus 1 week of new NutriCrush bars to crush cravings free, and 1 week of Turbo Shakes to bust belly bloat free.
Belly fat? Got that under control, too.
Call or go online in the next 2 minutes and we'll even throw in FedEx shipping free. Lose up to 13 pounds and 7 inches overall your first month. Millions of people have lost weight on Nutrisystem.
It's time to take control.
Go online or call 888-526-THIN right now and get new Lean 13 with bars and shakes free.
Taking on North Korea.
Our options are both effective and overwhelming.
John Bolton shows how to handle the growing threat Monday on Hannity.
We just had our first son, and we were shopping for our first home. We found one that was absolutely perfect. But we were scared to lose it because friends told us getting a mortgage was really complicated. Luckily, we found Guaranteed Rate, and our experience was nothing like our friends. It was actually quick and simple. It only took minutes to get approved and get a really low rate. And now, the home is ours. It's a dream.
Experience the Guaranteed Rate difference at Rate.com today. The difference of Guaranteed Rate's digital mortgage, which only takes minutes to get the perfect loan. The difference of the intuitive loan finder that provides you with real-time rates and loan options. And the difference of amazing low rates that could save you thousands of dollars, all with our customer-first commitment.
Everything was so easy. I still can't believe my kids will grow up here.
Visit Rate.com or call 1-888-702-0400 today. Guaranteed Rate. Our difference makes all the difference.
This is what happens when your wife tries Fabletics.com. She wears nothing but leggings. These are for yoga, hot yoga, coffee, brunch, bachelorette party. Me? I got one pair of sweatpants.
Honey?
Ah! Yes.
I'm gonna go to my class.
Okay. Sweetheart, you look great.
I know.
Kate Hudson, I hope you're happy with yourself.
Try Kate Hudson's Fabletics. Get 2 pairs of leggings for just $24, only at Fabletics.com.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Tonight we shake hands with pots and pans and take things step by step. Tonight we discover the past life of chicken fingers and find a new gravy boat in our trusty old mug. Tonight we cook, delivering delicious ingredients you'll love to eat, simple recipes you'll live to cook. HelloFresh, get cooking. Save $30 with code TV30.
This boy that my mother brought back from Europe on their first trip to Europe, and she fell in love with him. It must have been 45 or 50 years ago. And she carried him back on her lap. There's somehow a connection to what's important to a lady, what's important to a woman. And my mother wanted to bring back something that she knew would be a treasure for her whole life.
Your mom didn't really work outside the home.
No, she ran the home and she ran the dental practice. She ran the financial part of the dental practice.
But what you knew was a woman who was, you know, her life revolved around the family. You had other goals and dreams to become a professional, to do this on your own.
You made in your soul say, you know what I want to do is have family and nurture that family and become part of the PTA and take the kids on their field trips. That's really what I love to do. And that's great. But you always should have a way that you like of supporting yourself. Because if you don't have a way of supporting yourself in something that gives you pleasure, you can be bullied and you can be victimized. And the women that I know who are the most unhappy are those women who said, gee, the measure of my success is marrying a rich guy who can take care of me. And then, well, time goes by, they get older. You could be married 50 years, and your schmuck of a husband decides he now is in love with a yoga instructor, right? And all of a sudden, you find yourself out on your keister. You have to have something of your own.
You have talked about beauty fading a lot in your life, and that the important thing is what you got up here.
Beauty fades, dumb is forever.
But you care about beauty.
My father used to say, if you have the choice between looking good and feeling good, choose looking good. Because if you have a healthy ego and you don't look good, you won't feel good. Jerry Scheinlin and I have been together 40 years, 41 or 42 years. Together, married 40. And he has never seen me without my hair combed or lipstick.
Ever?
I like to look reasonable all the time.
Were you part of the women's lib movement?
I was not. I really never felt professionally threatened because of my gender. I didn't. And I didn't feel as if I was a woman lawyer or a woman judge. I was a judge, and I was a lawyer. I was never a member of the Women's Bar Association. I was never a member of the Women's Judges Association. I was a judge. I was a member of the bar. I never felt as if I got where I got because of a group.
Do you think you might have gotten along with male colleagues better because you found yourself indistinguishable from them?
Absolutely, and I told a better dirty joke.
You a feminist?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know what that means. I actually don't know what that means. Do I want equal pay with men? Absolutely not.
A verdict for Judge Judy. Contract for daytime's most popular TV personality, Judge Judy Scheindlin, has been extended for 3 years. The deal will keep her court in session through 2020. TV Guide reports that her current salary is $47 million a year.
I don't feel as if anything that happened to me in my life was sidetracked because I was a woman.
There are people who say, wow, they have a lot of money. I'm going to target them. I'm going to charge them more than I would charge somebody else. I'm going to get over on them. Do people dare try to get over on you?
You know, I wouldn't say that that's a good idea because I come from Brooklyn.
Visit your Acura dealer for 1.9% APR financing for well-qualified buyers on the 2018 TLX.
Applebee's 2 for $20. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Their bodies discovered by their sons. The multi-million-dollar shopping spree led police to their doorstep.
Law & Order True Crime, The Menendez Murders, coming soon to NBC.
Remember that accident I got in with the pole and I had to make a claim and all that? Is that whole thing still dragging on? No, I took some pics with the app and filed a claim. But you know how they send you money to cover repairs and...
It took forever to pay you, right?
No, I got paid right away. But at the very end of it all, my agent wouldn't even call you back, right? No, she called to see if I was happy. But if I wasn't happy with my claim experience, for any reason, they'd give me my money back. No questions asked. Can you believe that? No.
The claim satisfaction guarantee, only from Allstate. Switching to Allstate is worth it.
Hi. I'm the one clocking in when you're clocking out, sensing your every move and automatically adjusting to help you stay effortlessly comfortable. There. I can also help with this. Does your bed do that? Oh, I don't actually talk, though I'm smart enough to. I'm the new Sleep Number 360 smart bed. Let's meet at a Sleep Number store.
Shop like a pro at Bass Pro Shops for huge savings, like savings of 40% on Redhead Camo Tech hoodies. Save $20 on a Muddy 10 megapixel game camera bundle. And save $50 on Lacrosse Alpha Light rubber boots at Bass Pro Shops.
I am totally blind. And Non-24 can make me show up too early or too late or make me feel like I'm not really there. Talk to your doctor and call 844-234-2424.
Just like the people who own them, every business is different. But every one of those businesses will need legal help as they age and grow. Whether it be with customer contracts, agreements to lease a space, or protecting your work, LegalZoom's network of attorneys can help you every step of the way. So you can focus on what you do, and we'll handle the legal stuff that comes up along the way. LegalZoom. Legal help is here.
Dogs have evolved, but their nutritional needs remain instinctual. That's why there's Purina One True Instinct. Nutrient-dense, protein-rich, real meat #1. This is a different breed of nutrition. Purina One True Instinct.
Hulk Hogan was larger than life before life came crashing down.
That's how I ended up playing with a gun.
Personal trials and triumphs from the wrestling legend.
It's about getting hit, getting back up, and moving forward.
Objectified Hulk Hogan, next Sunday on the Fox News Channel.
First of all, my friend Jerry.
Yes,
my
Bobby.
friend
Good
Jerry.
to see you, my
we have
friend.
we have history.
Yes,
we have People's Court history.
Yes.
This is spectacular, by the way. Your own movie theater in one of your many homes.
This is a nice theater. One of the things that you asked me was, how do you know when you've made it. These shoes are Robert Clogeray shoes, and they were $300. Could never afford them as a civil servant. Once a year, they would have a sale. Every couple of years, I would go and see if I could get a pair of black ones on sale, but the black ones were never on sale. It was always the blue ones. My first year on doing the show, we were traveling down on Robertson, and there was a Robert Clogeray store. And I went in, and of course, the navy ones were on sale, and the brown ones were on sale, and the black ones were over. That's our new fall line. They're not on sale. And I said, I'll take them in black.
And that was the moment.
That was the moment that I knew that I had transitioned from, okay, that part of your life is over. You can now have black shoes. But I keep them just to remind myself.
So you guys were more than prepared to retire on Judge's income, retirement.
And Social Security.
What would that have been?
Not very much. It would have been fine.
How much?
Probably about $100,000 a year.
Between the both of us.
And we would have had a great little two-bedroom apartment a couple of blocks off the beach in Fort Lauderdale, and probably would have been able to take a vacation a year.
You go from living on Judge's salaries to this, an unbelievable house, and this is one of 5, I believe. How do you adjust? Because this didn't just happen gradually. This happened very quickly.
We were cooked. We were cooked.
What does that mean?
It means that we were matured and grown, and all of this stuff fell into a certain place. So we were not overwhelmed by this.
When you come into it at 52 and 61, you're not going to get crazy. It's one of the reasons that so many of the young kids in Hollywood today go crazy, because they start getting money when they're 18.
Is money no longer a factor?
Money is no longer a factor. It's nice not to have that as a stressor. And so if you can remove that, it gives everybody a certain amount of freedom to spread their wings and do what is that creatively makes them happy.
So you're a successful television producer?
Oh, yes, next adventure.
You've got Hot Bench, you've got Eyewitness.
Next question, the Space Saver model dog wore what color bandana? Eddie.
Yellow.
Yellow. All right. You seem confident, are you?
No.
All right. I admire your honesty. Was it a yellow bandana? Yes, it was.
Is that your bucket list?
I don't play golf. I don't play tennis. I don't have any other passions. I don't play mahjong. I don't know how to play bridge. So there isn't anything that I love to do. I like to work. And I like the adventure of working. And I'm sort of getting a little bit of the hang of the business of it. And I like the creative part of it. And as long as you're doing it and not banking on it, to put bread on the table, it's really sort of a lark.
There are people who are billionaires who want to be bigger. They want more billions. Do you laugh at that, or do you understand that?
There is a certain saturation point where you're not worried about money.
There are people who say, wow, they have a lot of money. I'm going to target them. I'm going to charge them more than I would charge somebody else. I'm going to get over on them. Do people dare try to get over on you?
I wouldn't say that that's a good idea, because I come from Brooklyn. And I was cooked when I came into this. And nobody likes to think that somebody else is playing them for a fool. Don't treat me like an idiot, because by your trying to cheat me, you're saying to me you're a fool. And I don't suffer that well.
What's the one luxury that still excites you?
The one thing is not really wanting anything material and lusting after anything.
This house is spectacular.
It's just an investment. A great investment is good real estate, location, 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 and you can get to enjoy it. And if we're not enjoying it, one of the kids is enjoying it.
That makes it sound very utilitarian. You guys have an amazing life. You have a private jet. You've got 5 houses. You've got a condo on a boat.
That all sounds terrible.
You have a dream life.
It is.
It doesn't sound terrible at all.
No, it's a dream. This was a wonderful fantasy for me and for Jerry and for our family.
Judy, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was fun.
Such a great time. Thank
This
you
was
so
fun.
much. Jerry?
Harvey, pleasure to see you.
Great
my
seeing
friend.
you again.
Good seeing you.
Bear the Boxer was his friend, had worked out in Grossinger's Hotel.
Oh, next Saturday.
Just a second. We hear you. We hear you.
Well, I'm trying to get on television.
I know, but we hear you. I mean, is there something sort of off? You're in the shot over there.
This is my attempt.
Hello? Hello?
Okay.
It's not about me. It's all about me. You can leave that in, by the way. Perfect.
Everything is changing around us. Old political divisions are shifting. Technology has torn down barriers. And across the globe, power is returning to the people. From outside the Beltway, you get a different perspective. The age of elitism is coming to an end. I've seen it up close. From inside government, while running campaigns, and starting my own business. People are looking for a new brand of change. And the place for positive populism is here. The next revolution starts right now. Live from Los Angeles tonight, the next revolution will be televised. As Republicans argue over immigration and President Trump's deal-making, we debate the real threat to the populist agenda, Mitch McConnell and the Washington establishment. Plus, Silicon Valley billionaires want the government to pay everyone a wage, whether they work or not. Universal basic income is the left's next big idea, but some on the right support it too. Don't miss my exclusive interview with conservative guru Charles Murray. And in Swamp Watch tonight, as world leaders gather in New York for the United Nations annual meeting, we expose the sickening corruption at this bloated global bureaucracy. Evening, everyone. Welcome to The Next Revolution. I'm Steve Hilton, and this is the home of positive populism. Conservatives were up in arms this week over President Trump's deal-making on immigration. They say he's betraying his base and his populist revolution. I say, judge the president on the results of his negotiation, not the opening bids, and focus on the real threat to the populist agenda that we learned about this week. Let me explain. On immigration, there'll be months of spin and counterspin. Throughout that, keep in mind the right thing to do, the positive populist thing to do. First, while we can all agree that America is a nation of immigrants, and that's a big part of our success, public support for immigration depends on government control of immigration. Over the last few years, our government abandoned any such control. So yes, we need a border wall, and much more. But second, whatever deal is reached on immigration must create an incentive for less illegal immigration, not more. And third, it's un-American to punish children for the sins of their parents. We must protect those who were brought here illegally, but again, in a way that discourages further illegal migration. Now that is a complicated set of outcomes to negotiate. We're just at the start of it. The immigration deal-making is not yet a threat to the populist agenda, but this week we saw clearly what and who really is. In his first TV interview, Steve Bannon revealed what we long suspected. Shortly after Election Day, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell told President-elect Trump to drop his Drain the Swamp crusade. Now, while that may be exactly what you'd expect from Kentucky's king of corruption, it's still important to stop and recognize what an outrage it is. Draining the swamp was the most important promise Donald Trump made. The country wanted an outsider to go to Washington and fight the insiders in both parties, whose elitist agenda has for decades made the rich richer and working people poorer. Mitch McConnell probably thinks he can get away with his defense of the establishment because his personal position is secure. He doesn't face re-election until 2020. It doesn't look like the Democrats can take back the Senate in 2018, and there's no sign of a challenge to his leadership. But there are other ways to make him accountable. The Constitution has no provision for recall elections for members of Congress, but it does provide for votes of censure and even expulsion. Most of the recent expulsions of members of Congress were connected to corruption. What is more corrupt than fighting for the swamp against every American who voted for Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, by the way. Mitch McConnell deserves the most aggressive condemnation we can muster. Waiting till 2020 to vote against him isn't good enough. He needs to be kicked out now. That is the next revolution we need. And by the way, Senator McConnell, we always like to be fair on this show. You are welcome here anytime to defend the swamp and yourself. That's my view, but I'd love to know what you think. Send us your thoughts on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at NextRevFNC, and we'll share some of your thoughts later on. But now, here to discuss all that, newly minted Fox News contributor Tomi Lahren. Syndicated columnist and host of the Navarrete Nation podcast, Ruben Navarrete, and Bernie Sanders supporter and former Nevada Assemblywoman Lucy Flores. So, Tomi, great to see you here. I want to start with you. What chance is there of draining the swamp as long as Mitch McConnell's in charge?
See, and I'm going to disagree with you just a little bit, because I don't think we need to get him out. Here's what I would caution Republicans. Take a look at Mitch McConnell. Take a look at how Trump supporters and just Americans in general are responding to Mitch McConnell and his refusal to drain the swamp. Take a look at that, and then know that whereas Mitch McConnell, he might be safe, you're not. So take a look. And the rest of us, we're watching.
So you mean the other members of Congress? So you think that his ability to control everyone else and defend the swamp might be diminishing? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is you support Mitch McConnell, you support what he's doing and the way that he is really attacking the America First agenda.
Yeah.
You watch him and you watch the way Trump supporters and Americans are reacting to it, and take note, because if you want to get back in that swamp with him, hey, you're going to face election. We're going to come after you.
So it is the people who are up next year, the people who are into it, very interesting.
Yeah, take a look. Take a look.
There you go. So Lucy, as you watch all this fighting on the other side, and a lot of it is prompted by the recent way in which the president has started to reach out in frustration with the Republicans,
Sure.
the Democrats. When you see that happening from your perspective on the left, on the populist left, is that something you welcome because it's part of this realignment
Absolutely.
of politics?
I mean, look, I was interviewed the other day for a New York Times story. Same question. Is there going to be any fallout, any repercussion of Democrats working with Donald Trump, specifically in response to the conversations that have been had now around the DREAM Act and the DACA and everything that's going on around immigration reform? My answer to that was absolutely not. Look, as a former legislator, I spent a decade of my life working and doing everything possible to work with my Republican colleagues to come up with some legislation and policy that actually made sense for people in my community, people in my state of Nevada at the time. And so for me, I don't see it as really any kind of a negative in any kind of way. At the end of the day, Trump has established himself as the kind of person that he is. Whether you like him, whether you don't like him, etc., he is who he is, and people kind of expect his type of behavior. And if a Democrat is going to work with him, if a Republican is going to work with him in order to further public policy that makes sense for this country, then we have to do it. It's our obligation.
That's great to hear. I want to, and actually quite a few Democrats have been saying that this week. But as I said, I think we need to wait for the results.
Well, of course.
But just to go back, I want to get your perspective on the drain the swamp aspect of this. What's your take on that? Do you think, I mean, I was very tough on Mitch McConnell there. On the other side,
Those are fighting words for sure.
Do you think that it's as bad on the Democrat? Do you think that Chuck Schumer is as big a defender of the swamp on the Democrat side as Mitch McConnell on the right?
I mean, I think, look, in terms of the establishment, what we're calling the establishment, look, the special interests and money running Washington and everything that happens in terms of the corruption at all levels of government, that's still there amongst all parties. But ultimately, for me, it's about moving forward. How do we continue to move forward? Chuck Schumer has done some things to move further to the left in terms of, obviously supporting Medicare for all, health care for all, more populist type of agenda, which I support. But at the end of the day, I mean, yes, we have to call people out for what it is.
I'm glad you said that, because my sense is that actually it's not the drain the swamp. That's why I said in the beginning there, the drain the swamp agenda is not a separate thing. It underlies everything, because it's the way that the interests get their way instead of the people.
That's right.
On every issue.
Right.
That's why I think it's fundamental, and I don't see any sign of it changing as long as you've got the same people in charge in D.C., not in the White House, but in Congress.
Right, and Steve, you know, Lucy's from Las Vegas originally. She knows how you play roulette. You put your money all over the board. You don't just put it on one number, and the special interests are smart enough to be able to back both political parties. In answer to your question, Chuck Schumer is absolutely as bad as Mitch McConnell, if not worse.
Right.
The reason you have Chuck Schumer is there because he's a great proponent of Wall Street. The Wall Street money keeps Chuck Schumer.
Now, to be fair, he's from New York.
Yeah, well, there you go. So he's going to.
No, but in the end, you know, remember, I'm not defending him, but I'd be lost to do that. But you know, they do say that, you know, like that's. He would probably say, well, they're my constituents.
It's sort of the company. Yeah, it's the company town, and that's my company. But you know, all the other issues you can think about, immigration, other issues. He's been center or to the right. He supports the idea of building a fence, building a wall. He's done all that before in previous
between a fence and a wall.
Yes, and he's supported other issues like that. But the point is, if you've been there for so long, and you've got power, then those special interests will find you. And so there's really not much of a difference between an entrenched
that's why I think
Republican
Tommy's
and an entrenched Democrat.
Well, I think you're so right to point to because we've had the revolution, the populist revolution take the White House, but it hasn't really touched Congress at all, and that's why I was really interested in what you were saying. You're in touch with these
Well, also, I think that the mainstream media is also doing a disservice, both on the left and the right, to what happened last week in talking about these conversations, and it's trying to rile up the base and make Trump supporters angry, saying, why are you talking to Democrats? Well, to go back to your original point, yeah, he's having to go to the Democrats because he wants to get something done. That's something about Donald Trump that I've always appreciated, and I'm a conservative, is that he's going to do what it takes to get things done and put America first. Now, I'm still someone that believes we need to build that wall. That is very important to me, but I will say it's not the worst thing in the world that he's meeting with Democrats. If he has to meet with Democrats, if he has to govern from the center, I'm okay with that. Let's get something done, because the last 8 years, the Republicans, they've failed us. And that's why we elected Donald Trump. So I hope he remains true to that.
No, I agree with that. So we're talking about the wall, because it's going to cost $25 billion.
Well, we have to stop talking generally right now. We've got to move on. Because I just want to get some comments from our viewers in. Here's a couple of responses that you've sent in about Mitch McConnell and the swamp. Lichen, sorry if I got that wrong, Craig says, you are right about McConnell. He is the epitome of an entrenched, arrogant, comfy career congressman. I love that. Who doesn't care? Jackie Harris8 says, and I agree with you 100%. So does my husband. Mitch McConnell needs to go. He needs to be expelled, and done so now. I think that struck a chord. But more discussion on a lot of that later. Coming up. The United States sends billions of dollars to the United Nations every year. Instead of helping secure world peace, it's being squandered by a lucrative and corrupt swamp. It's a can't-miss swamp watch. And the spokesperson for the UN Secretary General will join me to respond. And next, as technology threatens to destroy millions of jobs, some are calling for the government to guarantee everyone an income, whether or not they work. My exclusive interview with Charles Murray is next.
You know who likes to be in control? This guy. Check it out. Self-appendectomy. Oh, that's really attached. That's why I rent from National, where I get the control to choose any car in the aisle I want, not some car they choose for me. Which makes me one smooth operator. Still a little tender. Go National. Go like a pro.
Back support. If you need it, you know it. Introducing CopperFit Back Pro, the ultimate compression garment for maximum lower back muscle support.
I played 20 years in the National Football League. No one took a beating like I did. As soon as I put on CopperFit, I could feel the support. Oh, yeah. This feels good.
Designed to provide everyday support, comfort, and relief for lower back muscles.
As soon as I put it on, I felt an immediate change. The support was amazing.
I'll put it on and almost instantly it just makes it go away. It's like magic.
I'm more mobile. I get to move around better.
I feel like I can just do whatever I want, whenever I want, as fast as I want.
Keeps all those muscles back there relaxed.
I've had more energy. My kids can't keep up with me now.
High-performance compression fabric infused with powerful odor-reducing copper.
Hey, I pushed this belt to the max, and it's performed at the highest level. I put it through everything but getting hit. Oh, no, you don't. And it passed the test. Oh, It was just when I was playing in the National Football League.
A slick, form-fit design for greater mobility creates a perfect fit for any size body.
I was a little skeptical, but once I put it on and wore it, then I saw the results.
When you can't do the things that you imagine, it starts to get frustrating and depressing, and now this is giving me a new confidence.
Call 1-800-319-7105 or on the web at copperfitback.com. For only $19.99, you'll receive one lightweight back belt, form fit for your size and comfort. Order right now, and your shipping is free.
There's no reason to torture yourself. Put the product on, give it a try, you're gonna feel better.
Look, if you want the power to stay active, then you want CopperFit.
Experience the relief of compression support. Feel the power of CopperFit Back. Call 1-800-319-7105.
Ending the opioid epidemic. Chris Christie on his new White House role. Plus, forget hackers. The real tech threat you should be worried about on The Story.
If you are age 85 or younger,
call 800-214-9277.
To learn more about final expense plans from a licensed agent in the Angel Care Network. The average funeral now costs over $10,000, but your family may only receive $255 in government benefits. Are you at risk of leaving loved ones to help pay your debts? A final expense policy for seniors can pay up to $30,000 for funeral and other final expenses. You don't need a medical exam, and you can have lifetime coverage. Your premiums won't increase, your benefits won't decrease, and the policy cannot be canceled. To receive free information about final expense plans from a licensed agent in the Angel Care Network, call now. You'll also receive information about a free prescription discount card just for calling in. Agents are standing by.
Call 800-214-9277.
Welcome back to The Next Revolution. The idea of a universal basic income, the government paying all citizens a monthly stipend regardless of other income, has been debated for decades. But now the push for UBI is gaining traction from coast to coast. Our own Anita Vogel has more on this revolutionary idea. Take a look.
Imagine getting a monthly check from the government with no strings attached. It's an idea known as universal basic income. Trials are already underway in Canada and Finland. But it's not new to the U.S. either. American revolutionary Thomas Paine wrote about it in the 1790s, and Martin Luther King Jr. promoted it in the 60s. Now, major influencers in 2017 are talking about it again.
We should explore ideas like universal basic income to make sure that everyone has a cushion to try new ideas.
Yet most folks around the nation have never heard of the notion of a universal basic income. But here in the Bay Area, it's a bit of a different story. You could say it's becoming almost trendy.
Basic income is a federal program designed to provide Americans with economic security. Basically, it's a check every month for every American, enough for them to meet their basic needs.
The Universal Income Project of Oakland says maybe as much as $20,000 a year to lift people above the federal poverty line and free them up to take care of family or create jobs.
Basic income is a bold policy to ensure that people have financial peace of mind.
Everyone in America gets an amount based on their age under my proposal.
Google software engineer Topher Brennan calls himself a Bernie Sanders-style Democrat. He's running a long-shot campaign against veteran U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein, but talks seriously about basic income. He proposes a flat tax and getting rid of certain tax breaks to pay for the program.
It makes college a heck of a lot more affordable, for one thing.
But many economists worry, aside from the cost, giving out free money enough to make the concept viable would just be a disincentive to work.
People, they want to be engaged, they want to actually do productive things, but they need to have a reason to want to get up and go out and earn a living.
Right now, Hawaii is the only state in the nation to have passed legislation that declares all families are entitled to basic financial security. But California may not be far behind. In the fall, San Francisco will host a major conference on the idea of universal basic income. But of course, the big question will be, who's going to pay for it? Steve?
So is universal basic income a sensible safety net or an economic disaster in the making? Now, perhaps surprisingly, Charles Murray, a scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, is an advocate. And I spoke to him about it recently. Have a look. Charles, thank you so much for talking to us about this. I was very excited when I heard that we could have this conversation, because for most people, this idea of a universal basic income is something that's associated with the left. More recently, we've had the liberal elite in Silicon Valley pushing the idea, but generally it's something that's seen as an idea that comes from the left. But you're obviously not from the left, far from it.
No.
Just make the case for this from the conservative point of view.
Well, the simplest case from the conservative point of view is that the current system is awful, and replacing it all just by giving people money is better. That was Milton Friedman's argument. He made this case a long time ago. That's part of my reason, but the main reason is, well, I got a couple. One is, I think we're going to see a revolution in the job market over the next 20 or 30 years that are going to require us to redefine what the meaning of a job is. I'm in a minority on that. I have a lot of economist friends who say this time is not different and so forth, but I believe that. The second thing is that we've got to revive American civil society. And by civil society, I mean communities solving their own problems, dealing with each other, all the things that made America a very special place for decades and decades, which is disappearing. And oddly enough, a universal basic income, I think, can give a big boost to revitalizing that.
So explain that a bit more, because people might say it's almost the opposite of that. The universal basic income is kind of big government gone mad. It's the ultimate welfare state.
Well, if we gave everybody $50,000 a year, yeah, okay. In that case, you'd have a problem. In my plan, I give $10,000 a year of disposable income. Health care is taken care of otherwise. Okay, on $10,000 a year, you can't really make much of a decent living. If you get a job, you can be easily above the poverty line. But guess what? If you are a couple, that's $20,000. Plus whatever you can get from a low-paying job. And all at once, if that low-paying job, say, pays $15,000 a year for each of you, that's 30 plus 20, that's 50. And you're moving toward a middle-class lifestyle.
But when you look at the cost of this, in terms of this payment to every single citizen, you're arguing that you could get there if you literally stopped everything. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, all of it, right?
That's right, and also agricultural subsidies and all forms of corporate welfare, the whole shebang, all right? Yeah, not only could we get there, it would be cheaper than the current system is now already, today. And I've got the numbers in a book I wrote on this, and in the out years, 2025, for example, you're looking at $1 trillion.
But that's cutting all those programs, not by a bit or stopping the growth, it's zero, right? Cutting zero. So that is a very tantalizing prospect for a lot of people who are so aware of the unintended negative consequences of these bureaucratic programs.
Yeah, and by the way, I would add, there are ways to make the transition. So, for example, if you actually wanted to do this, you don't have to take people who are 55 years old and say, okay, you're going to have to make do with basic income. You have the option of getting the same benefits under from now on that you would have gotten under the old system. So you give people a choice about whether they want the new system or the old system. I did the numbers on that, and my guess is that probably even by the mid-40s, you are financially better off if you say, I'm going to go with the guaranteed income and get out of Social Security. By the 50s, you almost certainly want to stay with the old system. But the transition is possible.
So the last question I wanted to ask you is, how do you feel about being on the same side of a big argument like this, with a lot of people on the left, with a lot of people from organized labor, with the tech billionaires in Silicon Valley?
Well, actually, I had a very good experience in this with Andy Stern, who is the former head of the largest public employees union in the United States. Who would have thought that Andy Stern and I would like each other? It's not just that he also is in favor of a universal basic income, with different specifics than I have, but that as we talked about this, we had a lot of the same aspirations for what we wanted out of it. And we also, and I'm certainly speaking for myself, I enjoyed Andy Stern's company a lot. So I guess that there has been a serendipitous side effect of getting to know some people from the opposite side of the fence, and guess what? They're nice guys, nice gals.
Well, I've always believed in in that idea of working together with people on all sides to get to a common goal. But do you think that your plans really are the same? Is it more likely that those on the left who like the idea of a universal basic income, they're talking about something on top of the current system, whereas you're talking from a conservative point of view about something that's instead of it? Do you think that there's a risk that there's a sort of
it's not a risk, it's an absolute certainty that it would happen. And I guess in this regard, since I'm very openly not a practical politician, I'm not the guy you go to say this is something we can get Congress to pass tomorrow, I can live with that. So I have hopes that whatever comes out of this will be better than what we have now. The good news here is what we have now is so dysfunctional, it has so many bad side effects that it's kind of hard to make things that much worse.
I think a lot of people would agree with that. Charles, thank you so much. Great to see you. Thanks. Well, he talked about different specifics. There's a lot of specifics to get into, and we'll do that later. But coming up later in the show, Swamp Watch takes on the United Nations. What really happens to the billions we send them every year? But next, our panel weighs in on Charles Murray's interview and universal basic income.
With my moderate to severe Crohn's disease, I was always searching for ways to manage my symptoms. I thought I had it covered. Then I realized managing was all I was doing. When I finally told my doctor, he said Humira was for people like me, who've tried other medications but still experience the symptoms of moderate to severe Crohn's disease. In clinical studies, the majority of patients on Humira saw significant symptom relief, and many achieved remission.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
If you're still just managing your symptoms, ask your gastroenterologist about Humira. With Humira, remission is possible.
I didn't know where I was from ethnically, so we sent that sample off to Ancestry. My Ancestry DNA results are that I'm 26% Nigerian. I'm just trying to learn as much as I can about my culture. I put the gele on my head, and I looked into the mirror, and I was trying not to cry, because it's a hat. But it's like the most important hat I've ever owned.
Discover the story only your DNA can tell. Order your kit now at AncestryDNA.com.
Sandals. More quality inclusions than any other resorts on the planet. Book now and save up to 65%. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
Hey! You know Progressive is America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
Yeah, she does, Pearl. Best bike I ever owned.
No, you're never alone because our claims reps are available 24/7. We even cover accessories and custom parts.
We did get an early start. Took the kids to soccer practice.
You want me to jump that cactus? All right.
That lady's awesome. I don't see a possum.
Wouldn't you like to be out on the rolling sea with only the sky above?
Hey, Grandpa. Hey, kid. Really good to see you. You too.
You told Grandma you were going fishing again?
Maybe.
The best things in life keep going. That's why I got a Subaru too.
Introducing the all-new Crosstrek. Love is out there. Find it in a Subaru Crosstrek.
Applebee's 2 for $20. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Constipated? Trust #1 doctor recommended Dulcolax. Use Dulcolax tablets for gentle, dependable relief, suppositories for relief in minutes, and Dulcoes for comfortable relief of hard stools. Dulcolax, designed for dependable relief.
Fox News Channel on Sirius XM. Your favorite shows on Channel 114. Plus, every story, every 15 minutes. Fox News headlines 24/7 at Channel 115.
All right, we're back with our panel to get their thoughts on universal basic income. Lucy, this week we saw Bernie Sanders pushing the idea of single-payer health care, and everyone said, well, this is the Democrats, kind of, the center of gravity shifting to the left. Is this idea the next big idea? Do you hear talk of this, not just in Silicon Valley, but in mainstream Democratic circles?
No, I haven't heard a lot of chatter about it, but it's definitely something that's been mentioned more frequently recently amongst Democratic operatives or organizational leaders, executive directors of various organizations like the one that we heard from earlier. So it's certainly starting to make the rounds. And look, as was mentioned, it's not a new idea. This is something that has been floated around for a very long time. Other countries have done it. There's been successful studies on pilots that have been done in places like India and other countries, and they've been very successful in terms of the outcome. I mean, the idea here isn't that we're just taking care of everybody. The idea is that everyone has the ability to ensure that they have some food in their belly, a roof over their head, and ultimately they can worry about other things. And they actually do in those studies that we've seen, where people actually become more productive. So I think it's a good thing. Devil's always in the details, but I do think it's something that is going to continue to become more popular.
Well, I definitely get the feeling this is not going away as a topic of political debate.
Particularly because of our economic conditions right now.
I think it's a horrible idea. I think it's ridiculous. I've been reading Charles Murray for 30 years since I was in college.
Yeah.
He's a really smart guy. I wonder how smart you have to be to say something this stupid. Because this, we should just call it by its proper name. This is free money. This is welfare.
Yeah.
And just like welfare, and just like what Bill Clinton said in 1996, from the center left about trying to reform welfare so that it doesn't become a hammock and a way of life and all these things. At some point, you'll end up with a new reform movement to reform this, because you hit on it in that interview. There's a tension that exists around the idea of incentive. If people like Mark Zuckerberg and others think that if you give somebody an extra $10,000 a year in guaranteed income, that will get them off the couch and give them an incentive to start a new business, I'd argue against that. If they had that incentive, they wouldn't need the handout in the first place.
Yeah. So, Tom, I was watching your reactions with interest as Charles was talking. Come on, then.
Well, talking about it as well, people are going to abuse this program just like they abuse the welfare and the entitlement system that we have now. And the idea of just giving someone money, I'm sorry, I guess I was raised more conservatively than that. Give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, he'll be, full for the rest of his life. For me, that's where I stack up on this. And I think that we can look at other programs that are failing, like, for example, raising the minimum wage. We're talking about technology taking over jobs. Well, look what raising the minimum wage did. If an iPad can replace you, be careful how you feel about minimum wage. This is just that.
That's a really, by the way, that's such an important point that's missed in that whole conversation. The business decision of what are you going to spend the money on? More expensive work or automation?
That is an important point about the economy, though, because we are at a point right now when we do talk about wealth inequality in this country, where you have major corporations who have seen a steady, dramatic increase in their profits, and yet you have continued to see that stagnation in wages.
And that's been going on for decades.
So there has to be a much broader conversation about what it actually means to have that cushion.
Yes.
At the end of the day,
but sorry, Lisa, I'm going to have to sort of sort you there, not just because I really think that's an important point. First of all, we haven't got time to get into it, but also because I think that there are so many different angles to that, and I think what interests me about it is that it's one of those areas where the left and the right populist movements could unite.
Data.
This idea that
I respect your position.
The idea of a pro-worker agenda.
By data, not opinion.
Yes. Let's leave it there for now. I'm sorry. We'll get back to this. Is like a big theme for us on this show, as our viewers know. So we will certainly talk about it in the weeks and months and years ahead, we hope. Now, since we started our Swamp Watch series, you have been asking us to take on the United Nations. The wait is over. It's coming up next.
You know who likes to be in control? This guy. Check it out. Self-appendectomy. Now. Oh, that's really attached. That's why I rent from National, where I get the control to choose any car in the aisle I want, not some car they choose for me. Which makes me one smooth operator. Still a little tender. Go National. Go like a pro.
If you have moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's, and your symptoms have left you with the same view, it may be time for a different perspective. If other treatments haven't worked well enough, ask your doctor about Entyvio, the only biologic developed and approved just for UC and Crohn's. Entyvio works by focusing right in the GI tract to help control damaging inflammation and is clinically proven to begin helping many patients achieve both symptom relief as well as remission. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. While not reported with Entyvio, PML, a rare serious brain infection caused by a virus, may be possible. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, experience frequent infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Liver problems can occur with Entyvio. If your UC or Crohn's medication isn't working for you, ask your gastroenterologist about Entyvio. Entyvio, relief and remission within reach.
We rip, we nick, we burn, all to get beautiful smooth legs. Until now, introducing Flawless Legs from Finishing Touch, the new gold standard in instant painless hair removal. With its 18-karat gold-plated heads, Flawless Legs gently removes hair with no soap, no water, so you can use it anytime, anywhere. No nicks, no cuts, no bumps. Flawless Legs breakthrough design gives you 4 times more coverage than razors. German-engineered floating heads contour to every curve, even small delicate areas around ankles and knees.
It's super quick. There's literally no cleanup. You go in little circles. You can't cut yourself. It's like I waxed them, but I didn't.
Flawless Legs is the fastest, easiest, pain-free way to get perfectly smooth, flawless legs. Guaranteed.
You can take it anywhere, and it's very elegant. It's discreet. It is so nice to get the smoothness of a razor, but without having to go through the hassle of shaving.
Built-in LED lights make it easy to see and remove it all with no nicks, cuts, or irritation. And no costly batteries because Flawless Legs is rechargeable.
No more waxing. No more pain, no more razor cuts. I love that I don't have to get in the shower to shave.
Dermatologist approved. Flawless Legs is so effective, it can remove hair from anywhere. Yet it's gentle and safe to the touch. And its palm-perfect design provides control you can't get with razors. So it's perfect for every age.
I get behind my knees, I get down by my ankles without ever worrying about nicking myself.
Flawless Legs is easy to use, easy to hold, and I don't have to get my legs wet.
Call 1-800-648-8489. Or go to getflawlesslegs.com and get yours for only 2 payments of $29.99. Instant painless hair removal, rechargeable, 18-karat gold-plated heads, and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Flawless Legs, only from Finishing Touch.
Esurance does insurance a smarter way, which saves money. They offer paperless billing and automatic payments, which saves paper, which saves money. They offer home and auto coverage, so you can bundle your policies, which saves hassle, which saves money. And they offer a single deductible, which means you only pay once when something like this happens, which saves money. Esurance was born online and built to save. And when they save, you save. That's home and auto insurance for the modern world. Esurance, an Allstate company. Click or call.
The annual United Nations General Assembly starts in New York this Tuesday, with President Trump scheduled to speak that morning. As you'd expect, the assembled international bureaucrats, diplomats and plutocrats are hardly his biggest fans. Just before our election day, a top UN official said this, quote, "If Donald Trump is elected, I think it's without any doubt that he would be dangerous from an international point of view." Without any doubt, eh? Aren't these permanent bureaucrats supposed to be politically neutral? What a joke. Well, if he is a threat to anything, let's hope the president is a threat to the pompous, self-regarding, bloated, wasteful, and above all corrupt swamp on New York's East River. The United Nations is tonight's Swamp Watch. The UN is a sprawling international bureaucracy with endless different bodies and agencies. Its executive arm, the Secretariat, has a $5.5 billion budget, 22% of which is funded by you, the US taxpayer. So where exactly is your money going? Well, the UN's a global thing, right? So you'd expect a bit of travel. But hundreds of millions of dollars on travel? Just one UN agency, the World Health Organization, spent $200 million last year on travel alone. They spent less than half that on fighting AIDS and hepatitis, and even less on malaria, which kills 1 million people a year, mostly children. But at least when it came to Ebola, no expense was spared for Margaret Chan's accommodations. She's the former World Health Organization's director, and on a trip to Africa in the fight against Ebola, she stayed at our expense in the biggest presidential suite at the Palm Camayen Hotel in Conakry, Guinea. It cost over $1,000 a night, but hey, it's got great reviews on TripAdvisor. Then there's the case of former UN General Assembly President John Ash. He was charged with taking $1.3 million in bribes from Chinese businessmen to use his official UN position to advance their business interests, including a $500,000 payment for John Ash to push for the construction of a multi-billion-dollar UN conference center in China. As John Ash showed, it's a pretty cushy life being a United Nations crony. He had $59,000 worth of hand-tailored suits, two $54,000 Rolexes, and a $30,000 basketball court in his New York home. While these bribes and kickbacks, or just good old-fashioned taxes paid by American workers, are paying for a luxury lifestyle for elite diplomats, staggering levels of waste and fraud end up stealing money from the poorest people in the world, like those in Somalia. Between 2010 and 2013, the UN doled out $260 million through the Common Humanitarian Fund for Somalia, money intended to pay for food, water, and medicine. But according to confidential UN reports obtained by Fox News, much of it was given up front to 3 local organizations that produced phony receipts, padded invoices, and doctored project reports. Later, the UN's internal oversight body estimated that each of these local outfits engaged in fraud. In fact, as much as 79% of their project funding was phony. And, unbelievably, investigators found evidence that some of the money may have gone to the Islamist terror group Al-Shabaab. In an email, a UN contractor asked a superior for money transfers while writing that another colleague is, quote, pressed by Al-Shabaab to do the 3 payments as quickly as possible. And by the way, don't think this kind of fraud is an isolated example. Just last year, its own report across 28 UN organizations found a sense of impunity for fraud perpetrators. More than half of the 16,000 UN staffers surveyed said they believe fraudulent behavior goes unpunished. Remember that when you see all the grandstanding at the UN next week and the endless lectures about how terrible America is. They take money from US taxpayers, use it to fund their luxury lifestyles, and then lecture America on, I don't know, morality and human rights. Just look at the UN Human Rights Council, whose members include such well-known paragons of human rights as Saudi Arabia, where women can't drive; Rwanda, where Human Rights Watch condemns arbitrary detention and torture by the military and police; and Venezuela, where, well, you know about Venezuela. The United Nations Human Rights Council has condemned Israel, a democracy, more than any other nation on earth, including murderous dictatorships like China, Syria, and Iran. And now they're trying to organize a blacklist for any company that does business with Israel. In March, they even passed a resolution on cultural diversity co-sponsored by North Korea. What a farce. With conflict, civil wars, refugee crises, and famine around the world, of course there's a need for coordinated humanitarianism. But when that noble mission gets corrupted by elite diplomats and bureaucrats more interested in Rolexes and room service than the world's poor, it's time for us to stop writing them blank checks. Let's drain the swamp at the United Nations. Joining me now to respond, Stéphane Dujarric, the spokesperson for the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. So, Stéphane, I do appreciate you coming on to talk about this. I just wanted to start by really trying to get an understanding of how careful the United Nations and its people are with public money and what they do with that money. I tried to find on the United Nations website some kind of indication of what jobs people do, what they're paid. I couldn't find that anywhere. I found general information, but nothing specific. Can I just start with you? What are you paid?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you. It was quite a welcome you gave me. The scale of every staff member at the United Nations is available for anyone with Google on the International Civil Servants website. It's like any public service, the United States or anywhere in Europe. Every public servant has a grade and is paid. The Secretary General is extremely careful with the money that is given to the United Nations. Since he started office, one of his first actions was to put in place an improved whistleblower policy, which was accepted by the United States, as it has to be for certification by the State Department. And he has ordered a drastic cost reduction in how we do our work every day. And he is very much engaged in a dialogue with the United States in terms of reforming the UN so it can perform better, it can be more fit for purpose, and it can deliver better. And I think he's very conscious of the fiduciary trust that is given to them by the global taxpayer.
Well, he may be, but the rest of the people aren't. I mean, the fraud that we've documented, which, by the way, half the people believe happens, is extensive. But let me just ask you, it's very valiant of you to come on and talk about the... Now, hang on a second. It's very valiant of you to come on here and talk about the reforms that are promised. But you've been the spokesman there for quite a while, and this happens every single time. And it doesn't stop. In January 1997, Kofi Annan, the incoming Secretary General, says, together we can bring about the reforms that are necessary, talking about all the things you're discussing now. Ban Ki-moon, hang on a second. Ban Ki-moon in 2006. No, I want to make the point that we can't believe what you say because you say it every time and nothing changes. In 2006, Ban Ki-moon says we're going to have a reform program that will focus on efficiency, transparency and accountability. After he said that, we have all this fraud and corruption. Why should we believe that you and this new Secretary General are going to be any different?
If you would like me to speak, that would be wonderful. I think there are a number of points to make. One is that reform and improving an organization is a constant process. And if you look back to the lessons learned from the 90s, for example, we have vastly improved our procurement department with active blacklists, better training, much stricter control on how we do procurement. We are an organization of men and women, like any organization in the private sector, made of people who, some of them, unfortunately, very few of them, tarnish the great work that others do. We have been very tough on pursuing fraud if fraud is found. Many of the reports that you cited are, in fact, the results of the UN's own investigations. And I would add that...
But it still goes on. It still goes on. Sorry,
I would add that, you mentioned the case of John Ash. John Ash was not a staff member of the United Nations. He was a diplomat representing his own country. So the United Nations Secretary General had nothing to do with John Ash. Whenever there's been cases of corruption, either that we've discovered, we've brought them to the attention of judicial authorities, or
why don't you, instead of cleaning it up, after the event, why do you think it's okay for American taxpayers to keep shelling out for this? I want to ask you about the travel. Wait a second. When you travel, I want to ask you a specific question. When you travel. No, I'm sorry, I haven't got much time. I want to ask you a specific question. When you travel, what class of travel do you use with public money, you and other officials?
If I travel under 10 hours, I travel coach. If I travel over 10, I travel business.
And what about other officials?
The Secretary General travels business class. The regular rules for staff member is 9 or 10 hours. You travel coach. Over that, you travel business. If you travel for a conference or training, you travel coach. No matter what the time length is. I think every report of corruption is shocking and shocks us and hurts us. I have spent a lot of time in the field with colleagues who do amazing work in the farthest reaches of the world, helping people, defending people, feeding people. And we are all blighted by the actions of a few people, just like in any other organization.
Okay, I'm sorry you've made that point. I appreciate the point, but I think people would take it a lot more seriously, A, if the reforms ever led to anything, and B, if you didn't have this incredible hypocrisy on issues like human rights and Israel. But I'm afraid we need to leave it there. I do appreciate you coming on to talk about it. Thank you very much. We'll be right back and debate all that with our panel.
Can we at least analyze customer traffic?
Can we push the offer online?
Legacy technology can handcuff any company, but yes is here.
The new app will go live Monday.
Yeah, with Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, we're transforming the way we work.
With the right mix of hybrid IT, everything computes.
You push yourself every day. Tempur-Pedic helps you recover every night. Tempur material provides up to twice as much pressure-relieving power, so you won't toss and turn. Savings end soon. Through September 17th, save up to $500 on select adjustable sets.
I was playing golf a couple of days ago.
I love golf.
I used to love golf.
Wait, what? What happened?
I was having a good round, and then my friend, Sheila, right as I was stepping into the tee box, mentioned a tip of pro game.
Oh.
Yep.
Did it help?
It completely ruined my game.
Yeah, well, the truth is, that advice was never meant for you.
I like you.
Do you want to show me your swing?
It's too soon.
Get advice that's right for you. Investment management services from TD Ameritrade.
During the Made to Move 2017 clearance event, you can do endless online research about the CT6. Or you can come in and have it all for less than you might imagine. Don't wait. Our 2017 models will be moving fast. Or you can drive a Cadillac. During the Cadillac Made to Move 2017 clearance event, current non-GM owners and lessees get this low mileage lease on this Cadillac CT6 from around $529 per month.
Hurricanes, climate change, and the truth. The left uses recent disasters to push their point of view. Could they be wrong on multiple levels? A must-see take on the next Tucker Carlson Tonight.
I won this 55-inch TV for less than $30 on DealDash.com.
I got this $1,200 computer for $100.71.
These aren't actors, they're real people who got real savings at DealDash.com, the fair and honest bidding site.
On Deal Dash, I got this $349 mixer for less than $25.
iPads sell for as little as $5, laptops for $10, and professional cameras for as little as $20.
I won this iPhone for $8.48 at Deal Dash.
I got all this for less than $50 on DealDash.com.
Try Deal Dash today. If you don't win, get your money back, but hurry, everything must go. Go to DealDash.com now to start bidding.
In my first 4 months on Deal Dash, I won 104 auctions.
And shipping is always free.
Visit Deal and start bidding.
Hey, Pennington, there are all types of home loans for all types of people. FHA loans, jumbo loans, VA loans, condo loans, and many more. Choosing the right mortgage could save you thousands of dollars. Guaranteed Rate has helped over 500,000 happy customers find the right mortgage with low rates. Go to rate.com right now to try Guaranteed Rate's easy, intuitive loan finder. Just answer a series of simple questions about your specific mortgage needs, and the intuitive loan finder's powerful decision engine will generate a customized list of the best loan products at the lowest rates for you, all in less than 60 seconds, and all for free. Guaranteed Rate is a top 10 national lender with over 95% customer satisfaction. So whether you're buying or refinancing your home, get a low rate from Guaranteed Rate today. Call 1-888-668-0066 or visit rate.com.
All right, so in the break, we had a vote here on the panel, and we decided they don't want to talk about the UN because we felt we did that subject enough justice. And instead, another very interesting thing that happened this week, which was Hillary Clinton's book that was published and her book tour. Tommy.
Well, I gotta tell you, I would rather Hillary be in a Barnes & Noble than in the White House. So if she keeps doing this, it's okay for me because I'm a Republican. But she's doing serious damage to the Democratic Party. I think that you'll agree in that as well. And to me, she's also doing a disservice to women because she's teaching women that you can just make excuses for your failure. And then you can also blame sexism and misogyny for your failures. And to me, it's disappointing as a woman. But as a Republican, as a conservative, let her go. Keep talking.
Actually, Peggy Noonan made that point in her column this weekend, which is that how she's blaming fighting sexism and misogyny when, you know, right now. Sorry, I'm rushing because I don't want to take your time away, Lucy. What do you think about the Hillary talk?
No, look, I actually can't believe I'm saying this, but I agree with Tommy. I think
we always like that on the show, bringing people together.
I tend to agree with your guess. No, but look, I think she's definitely doing a disservice to the Democratic Party. I think many Democrats agree with that. Look, it's a free country. She has a right to say her piece, but at the end of the day, if it's about trying to help, she's not. And I don't agree with the sexism, misogyny thing. I do think that it was a very complicated situation and that was involved. That being said, I definitely see it as a disservice as a whole.
Last word to you.
Very quickly. So Hillary didn't just blame sexism for her defeat, also racism. She says Donald Trump made racists comfortable. Odd coming from a woman who coined the phrase super predators to describe young African-American men, and together with her husband in 2008 ran an overtly racist campaign against Barack Obama.
Harsh words, but very glad to get those perspectives in. Thank you to all of you. And I'm sorry we didn't have more time for the UN, but I think we did that one properly. Next, we are going to mark a very special birthday, so please stay with us for my final thoughts.
We know what you're thinking. Oh no, not another pillow commercial. But please, watch just one more. It's the unique multi-core pillow designed in France by anatomical specialists.
It cradles your head and neck with our exclusive support columns of varying density. You can even reposition the columns to create your own unique comfort zone. This is the first truly custom pillow. Ordinary feathers, shredded fiber, solid foam, and chopped foam all have the same problem: equal density. This piece of foam is the same as this piece of foam. Our multi-core pillow is constructed with 24 comfort foam cylinders of varying density. For a restful sleep.
Watch as the cylinders react to these 30-ounce weights. Memory foam alone hardly moves, but our multiplex of columns supports the weights at various strengths.
Use the softer cylinders in the center to cradle and cushion your head. Stronger cylinders along the edges to support your neck and shoulders. As you move, the cylinders raise and lower like springs, giving constant continuous support. Each cylinder is strategically positioned into molded memory foam, ergonomically sculptured for custom comfort and support. Plus, the entire pillow is surrounded with towels, allowing the passage of air, keeping you cool and comfortable. Remember, no matter what your age, you need night's sleep to wake refreshed and ready to conquer the day. Call now and receive this free custom pillow protector for perfect comfort. Order your multi-core pillow now for just $29.95. You'll wake refreshed, ready to conquer the day. No false promises, just the best pillow you've ever owned or your money back.
To order your multi-core pillow, call 1-800-688-1761 or log on to multicorepillow.com. Call 1-800-688-1761. That's 1-800-688-1761. Call now.
Everybody has sunglasses, but most sunglasses make things darker and are useless when it comes to blinding glare. Not these. Nick Bolton here with the latest from Bell & Howell. We call them tack glasses. Inspired by the sunglasses worn by our heroes in uniform, tack glasses can do things no ordinary sunglasses can do, like block blinding glare so well, invisible objects suddenly become visible. Enhance colors to give you vision as sharp as an eagle's and survive even the harshest conditions. Look, ordinary sunglasses just make things darker, which could be deadly in a tactical situation. But tack glasses improve optical clarity, so you can see clearly even in low light. If you've never seen how this light filtering technology works, check this out. Nothing to see, right? But look again as we hold up our tack glasses. A colorful American Eagle's revealed. Amazing.
Look at the screen.
Yes.
What do you see?
I see a white screen.
Just a plain white screen. Now look at it through our sunglasses. Whoa, this is cool.
How does it do that? That is so awesome.
What? Oh my. Whoa, what? That is so cool. That is amazing. How's it do that? It's like an eagle pops out of nowhere.
Very, very cool.
Whether you're on the trail or on the golf course, on the water or on the slopes, with tack glasses, you'll always see clearly without any glare. There's just nothing like them on the market today.
Act now, and through this special TV offer, you can get your very own pair of tack glasses for just $19.99, plus shipping and handling. Plus, every pair comes with our Bell & Howell lifetime guarantee. But wait, order today and we'll also include a blank card that reveals our American Eagle when you put on your tack glasses. So don't delay. Order yours today.
To order, call 1-800-390-2741. That's 1-800-390-2741, or order online at trytagglasses.com. 1-800-390-2741.
Welcome back, everyone, and tonight a final thought from me. We are celebrating a very special birthday today, the 230th anniversary of the signing of the Constitution. Last year, I took my two sons to Liberty Hall and the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia. They do an incredible job there of bringing the Constitution to life and explaining why it matters so much. It's incredibly inspiring and moving. If you can find a way to get there, please do go. Thanks in large part to that document signed 230 years ago today, we now live in the greatest nation on earth based on the most beautiful idea in history, liberty under the law. That's all we have for you tonight. My thanks to our panel, our old friends Lucy and Ruben, and our new friend Tommy here for the first time. Join us again next week when the next revolution will be televised.
President Trump preparing to take center stage as leaders from around the globe convene in New York City. The United Nations General Assembly getting underway this week, where President Trump will address the international body for the first time. I'm John Roberts, and this is the Fox Report. President Trump arriving back in New York City late on Sunday afternoon after a weekend in New Jersey. He is scheduled to head to the United Nations on Tuesday. North Korea expected to be at the top of the agenda as leader Kim Jong-un ramps up nuclear threats in the face of new sanctions that are biting deeply. The president is also expected to push for reforming the United Nations, an institution that he has often criticized. National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster previewed President Trump's speech on Fox News Sunday. Listen here.
He thinks the speech is a tremendous opportunity, obviously, to reach so many world leaders at the same time and to emphasize really three themes. First is to protect the American people. The second is to promote American prosperity. And the third is really to help promote accountability and sovereignty. And those three themes will allow him to communicate his vision for America's role in the world, but then also what his expectations are for international bodies like the United Nations, but also of other nations. The expectation that they ought to protect the sovereignty of their citizens and respect the sovereignty of other nations.
Kristen Fisher is in Somerset, New Jersey tonight. Kristen, the General Assembly doesn't officially start until tomorrow, but important meetings are already underway tonight.
That's right, John. Tonight, the Secretary of State Rex Tillerson will be meeting with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, where the situation in Syria will be front and center. But the real action will get started tomorrow, beginning with President Trump hosting a UN reform event. You know, in the past, as you mentioned, President Trump has been very critical of the UN. He called it incompetent. He threatened to cut funding for it. But listen to how the U.S. ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, described it just this morning.
It is a new day at the UN. What you are now seeing is the Israel bashing has become more balanced. You've got a United Nations that's action-oriented. I think that the pleas that he made in terms of trying to see change at the United Nations have been heard, and I think what we'll do is see him respond to that come on Tuesday.
So President Trump isn't expected to bash the UN in his speech to the General Assembly on Tuesday. But, John, you know better than anyone that this president can change his mind up until the very last minute. Case in point, his first big speech to NATO, where all of his aides, everybody thought that he was going to reaffirm his commitment to NATO's Article 5 pledge. But at the very last minute, he decided not to do it. John?
And as Nikki Haley told us on Friday in the president's speech, he will, quote, slap the right people and hug the right people. North Korea clearly is going to dominate the agenda, and the president has got a new nickname for that country's leader.
Yes, from the president that brought you Crooked Hillary, Lion Ted, Little Marco. Now we have the Rocket Man from North Korea, and he debuted this new tweet, or new nickname, on Twitter this morning. Here it is, quote, "I spoke with President Moon of South Korea last night, asked him how Rocket Man is doing. Long gas lines forming in North Korea. Too bad." Now, those long gas lines he's referring to likely have to do with the latest sanctions that were just passed by the UN Security Council, which decreases all oil imports into North Korea by about 30%. But despite the unanimous condemnation by the Security Council, and despite President Trump's promise just a few weeks ago to rain down fire and fury on Pyongyang if they do not stop with all of these provocations, so far all of it has had very little impact. Well, that prompted his national security advisor, General McMaster, to say on Friday that, we're out of time, that we're out of road to keep kicking the can down. So today, this morning on Fox News Sunday, our Chris Wallace asked him, well, what exactly did he mean by that? What does it mean when you say that we've run out of road to kick the can down? Here was his response.
It really depends on how we see this threat continue to manifest itself and our judgment about how much time we have. And this regime is so close now to threatening the United States and others with a nuclear weapon that we really have to move with a great deal of urgency on sanctions, on diplomacy, and on preparing, if necessary, a military option.
So General McMaster making it very clear that while the U.S. would not prefer to use military options, that there are still plenty of military options on the table, John.
And the Secretary of State Rex Tillerson saying that there's not much runway left to land this thing on, so a lot of metaphors being kicked around when it comes to North Korea. Kristen, thanks so much. More on this, by the way, at the bottom of the hour with the former ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton, here on the Fox Report. The U.S. not backing off of threats of military action against North Korea. This after the rogue regime again launches a ballistic missile over Japan on Thursday. North Korea is picking up the pace to build a missile capable of striking the U.S. mainland. Republican South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds addressing that possibility in an appearance on Fox on Sunday Morning Futures today.
He is not part of the civilized world, and most certainly you can't assume that he doesn't have other types of weapons as well. But the reality is he, at this point, does not have the huge capabilities that it would take to actually deliver such a blow. He can cause us pain, he can cause our allies pain, and most certainly with South Korea and Seoul, he has a significant conventional military force on the border.
Our senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palkot has more now from Seoul, South Korea.
John, as tensions are high here on the Korean Peninsula, attention is focused halfway around the world to New York for the upcoming UN General Assembly meeting. We've been speaking with the office of the South Korean president, and they tell us that President Trump and President Moon agreed to strengthen collaboration in the face of North Korean provocations, this in a recent phone conversation. They will be meeting this week in New York on the sidelines of the UN meeting, along with Japanese Prime Minister Abe. All this comes in the wake, of course, of North Korea launching its latest intermediate-range ballistic missile. Kim Jong-un reportedly in attendance. Getting attention here, too, though, the Trump administration officials launching their own round of verbal attacks on the Sunday talk shows. National Security Advisor General H.R. McMaster declaring that North Korea, quote, had run out of road. Secretary of State Tillerson saying that if diplomacy fails, then the military option is the only one left. Remember that the North Korean delegation are set to be inside that General Assembly hall, not far from the Speaker's rostrum, when President Trump gives his own address to the General Assembly on Tuesday. That should all be very interesting. Finally, John, officials here in South Korea are still watching very closely North Korea this week. Kim Jong-un has a habit of making trouble domestically or regionally at times when big diplomatic events are happening elsewhere in the world. He wants to stay in the public eye. John.
Would be the perfect opportunity. Greg Palcott tonight in Seoul, South Korea. Another big storm churning in the Atlantic Ocean as its sights set on the Caribbean islands. Tropical storm Maria became a hurricane this afternoon. It is hanging out east of the Lesser Antilles, and forecasters warned it could be on course to hit many of the same Caribbean islands that were battered by Hurricane Irma. Meanwhile, Florida is still recovering from Irma's devastation, especially in some of the hardest hit areas like the Florida Keys, where cleanup efforts are in full swing. Big trucks are rolling in to pick up downed trees and other debris, many people counting their blessings that their homes are still standing.
A lot of trees down, and fortunately most of the trees missed houses. It's weird. There's one or two houses that are destroyed, but for the most part, we were fine. We had food, water. The worst thing was not having power and air conditioning in September down here. We found that out.
Matt Finn is on the mainland, just a little bit west of the Keys in Florida City, Florida. And Matt, are tired and frustrated residents finally being let back into the lower Keys?
John, 1 week after Irma made landfall, residents are finally being allowed back into all locations at the Keys. Behind me is a roadblock where military and police are screening people, only allowing in residents with proper documentation and vital recovery crews. As if abandoning their home wasn't difficult enough, tonight many people in these cars are driving back to a house that has been obliterated and sitting in the Florida heat and elements for a week. We talked to one family with 3 young children who have been living in their car out of money. Another man who drove to New Jersey and back, spending $1,000 in expenses alone. We talked to a few other people who tonight are returning to their homes for the first time. Here's what they had to say.
It ripped the side out and took all my bird cages away, and I mean, everything's gone. What wasn't flooded was just, you know, taken.
No house. And I drive all the way back and I have to live on my porch.
In a few minutes, this entry will close at 8 o'clock. Then there will be a strict curfew, and the sheriff here saying there is a zero tolerance for crime after Hurricane Irma. John.
Any improvements, Matt, in the basic services like getting the cellular phone system back up and running, getting hospitals up as well?
You know, all week long we were in the Keys. There was little to no cellular reception. Tonight it's getting better, but it's still spotty. There are 2 mobile hospitals. They are limited, and there's 4 veterinary clinics. But otherwise, John, people who choose to return tonight face miserable and dangerous conditions in this Florida heat. John.
Matt Finn for us tonight in Florida City, where folks remember all too well when Hurricane Andrew came through back in 1992. Matt, thanks. Yeah. The first lawsuit has been filed in connection to the deaths of 8 people at a Florida nursing home. The elderly patients were left in a sweltering nursing home in Hollywood, Florida, after Irma knocked out power to their air conditioning system. The family of a 94-year-old who survived is seeking unspecified damages. A small memorial now sits in front of the center. Florida Governor Rick Scott launching an investigation into the tragedy and announcing new rules giving the state's nursing facilities just 60 days to install a backup generator and have enough fuel on hand to operate it for 96 hours during a power outage. Right now, police saying there's a strong chance 2 murders in Louisiana were racially motivated, and they already have a person of interest in custody. The evidence that could link this man to the crime. Plus, more unrest in Missouri as protesters swarm city streets for a 3rd night, and how residents are reacting to the violence.
This morning when I got up and I said there's only one thing to do, come down and clean up our city. We can express our opinion, but when it becomes violent, that's unacceptable. We need to build and not destroy.
Visit your Acura dealer for 1.9% APR financing for well-qualified buyers on the 2018 TLX.
I didn't know where I was from ethnically, so we sent that sample off to Ancestry. My Ancestry DNA results are that I'm 26% Nigerian. I'm just trying to learn as much as I can about my culture. I put the gele on my head, and I looked into the mirror, and I was trying not to cry, because it's a hat. But it's like the most important hat I've ever owned.
Discover the story only your DNA can tell. Order your kit now at AncestryDNA.com.
I love your vest.
Your crochet purses have wonderful eyes.
In the modern world, an app can help you find your perfect match. And with Esurance, Coverage Counselor can help you find great coverage that's a perfect match too. That's auto and home insurance for the modern world. Esurance, an Allstate company. Click or call.
When you really want to save big on a hotel, just go to Priceline. They add thousands of new deals every day, up to 60% off.
That's how Kaylee and I got to share this trip together at this amazing hotel.
Yeah, Ash and I share everything. Dresses, makeup, water bottles.
Oh, we do?
Mm-hmm. We share secrets, shoes, toothbrushes.
What?
Yeah, I forgot mine, so I've been using yours.
Seriously?
What's the big deal? I mean, we even dated the same guy.
Who?
Go to Priceline and get the hotel deals you won't find anywhere else.
There are 24 hours in a day. Tempur-Pedic helps you get the most of them. Only proprietary Tempur material precisely conforms to your body. You get up to twice as much pressure-relieving power, so you won't toss and turn. And Tempur-Pedic is the best at minimizing motion transfer from your partner. You'll sleep deeply and wake up feeling powerful. Savings end soon. Through September 17th, save up to $500 on select adjustable sets. Find your exclusive retailer at Tempur-Pedic.com.
You know who likes to be in control? This guy. Check it out. Self-appendectomy. Oh. Oh, that's really attached. I rent from National, where I get the control to choose any car in the aisle I want, not some car they choose for me. Which makes me one smooth hitter. Ah, still a little tender. Go National. Go like a pro.
Police in Louisiana say the murders of two black men in Baton Rouge may have been racially motivated. Investigators arresting 23-year-old Kenneth Gleason on drug charges after finding marijuana and vials of human growth hormone during a search of his home. Investigators believe Gleason may be connected to the two murders. The shootings happened last week, about 5 miles away from each other. Police say a 59-year-old homeless man was shot to death on Tuesday night. 2 days later, a 49-year-old man was gunned down while walking to work. Police say shell casings from the shootings linked the two murders in a car belonging to Gleason fit the description of the shooters. St. Louis bracing for a third night of protests after the acquittal of a white former police officer and the death of a black man. The situation getting out of hand on Saturday when folks in the crowd started hurling objects at officers and breaking storefront windows. At least 9 people were arrested. Mike Tobin has more from St. Louis, Missouri tonight. Mike, what's the scene there?
Well, John, another day, another demonstration. These people clearly aren't discouraged by anything that has happened thus far. You've got hundreds of people out right now in the middle of Olive Street, and they've mostly been marching up and down, making a lot of noise, making their voices heard. It was a different scene late last night. The demonstration went on throughout the day. In the opinion of some law enforcement contacts, there was more than a dozen kids who were hell-bent on having some kind of conflict before the night let out. Those kids hung around after most of the demonstrators went home. About 11 o'clock, University police blocked this street, and they stood there for a while, and tensions increased. At one point, the rocks started throwing, the bottles came out, paint bombs came out, and as it picked up, at some point, the university, or I should say the county police came in and supplemented the numbers of the university police in large scale. They drove the demonstrators down the street, and that's when they retreated, smashing out storefront windows as they went. They smashed out a long line of storefront windows. A number of them were arrested. Here's the reaction from the governor.
The people who are peacefully protesting are going to be protected. But people who engage in violence, people who engage in vandalism are going to be immediately arrested.
7 were arrested by county police, 2 were arrested by local police. Their charges range from failure to disperse to destruction of property to assault on law enforcement officers. Some of the charges are felonies, John.
Mike, are there any outside agitators that you can see in the march that you're following there?
You know, we've been watching this pretty closely and looking for the outside agitators. There's no intelligence that people from the outside are showing up here. Looking at the addresses of those who have been arrested, almost all of them are local, from Missouri or close by in Illinois. So there's every indication that this is local, it's homegrown, it's spontaneous, it's related to this case.
Mike Tobin for us reported. Mike, thanks so much. Americans abroad attacked with acid at a train station in France. What investigators are saying about the violence and the new information that we're learning about the victims. Plus, British authorities making a second arrest after Friday's terror attack on the London subway as investigators comb the home of an elderly couple outside the city.
Well, I don't think it's helpful for anyone to speculate on what is an ongoing investigation. The police and the security services are doing the work necessary to discover the full circumstances of this cowardly attack that's taken place and to identify all those who are responsible.
I personally guarantee that MyPillow will be the most comfortable pillow you'll ever own. It's machine washable and dryable, comes with a 10-year warranty and my 60-day money-back guarantee. Call the number on your screen or go to MyPillow.com and you get 2 MyPillow premiums for one low price. Be sure to use the promo code and I'll also give you free shipping.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Taking on North Korea.
Our options are both effective and overwhelming.
John Bolton shows how to handle the growing threat Monday on Hannity.
If you are age 85 or younger,
call 800-214-9277.
To learn more about final expense plans from a licensed agent in the Angel Care Network. The average funeral now costs over $10,000, but your family may only receive $255 in government benefits. Are you at risk of leaving loved ones to help pay your debts? A final expense policy for seniors can pay up to $30,000 for funeral and other final expenses. You don't need a medical exam, and you can have lifetime coverage. Your premiums won't increase, your benefits won't decrease, and the policy cannot be canceled. To receive free information about final expense plans from a licensed agent in the Angel Care Network, call now. You'll also receive information about a free prescription discount card just for calling in. Agents are standing by.
Call 800-214-9277.
We're learning more about the 4 Americans attacked with acid at a train station in France. French authorities now say the victims are students from Boston College who are studying abroad. They have been released from the hospital and are doing okay. The assault happened at the main train station in the southern port city of Marseille. Police say the attack is not terror-related and that the suspect is, quote, disturbed. The United Kingdom lowering the terror threat level after making a second arrest for a bombing on the London Tube. An 18-year-old and a 21-year-old now connected to the attack that injured 30 people on Friday. Meantime, investigators conducting 2 searches, this one at a home belonging to an elderly couple who had taken in foster children for years, including refugees from conflict zones like Syria and Iraq. Kitty Logan has the latest for us from London.
Hi, John. Well, since 2 key arrests have been made in connection with this investigation, the government has felt confident enough to reduce the terror threat level. It's now back down to severe from critical. The second suspect to be arrested is a 21-year-old man. He was detained in the district of Hounslow, very close to Heathrow Airport, just before midnight on Saturday local time. Police are also continuing forensics work at a house in the suburb of Sunbury, which was raided yesterday. That home belongs to an elderly couple who fostered refugee children and had an 18-year-old in their care. And he's thought to be the same teenager who was arrested early yesterday in the port of Dover. His arrest is described as very significant. He's now being questioned by police in London. Police are trying to determine if more than one person may have been involved in planting this bomb on a busy commuter train on Friday morning. It only partly exploded, but 30 people were injured, mostly with burns. And there's still much more work for police to do to determine quite how extensive this bomb plot may have been and how many accomplices at large.
Kitty Logan for us. Kitty, thanks. President Trump taking a bipartisan approach to cut a deal on some key agenda issues. Both will it be more gridlock in Washington? Plus, the president also making his first address at the UN General Assembly this week, an institution he often criticizes. So what should leaders like to hear? Joins us with his take coming up next.
I have long felt the United Nations is an underperformer, but has tremendous potential. There are those people that think it's an underperformer and will never perform.
During the Made to Move 2017 clearance event, you can do endless online research about the CT6. Or you can come in and have it all for less than you might imagine. Don't wait. Our 2017 models will be moving fast. You can drive a car or you can drive a Cadillac. During the Cadillac Made to Move 2017 clearance event, current non-GM owners and lessees get this low mileage lease on this Cadillac CT6 from around $529 per month.
Farmers, we've seen almost everything, so we know how to cover almost anything, even a swing set standoff. And we covered it. July 1st, 2015. Talk to farmers. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Hi, I'm the one clocking in when you're clocking out, sensing your every move and automatically adjusting to help you stay effortlessly comfortable. There. I can also help with this. Does your bed do that? Oh, I don't actually talk, though I'm smart enough to. I'm the new Sleep Number 360 smart bed. Let's meet at a Sleep Number store.
Paid spokesperson.
Have you or someone you love been prescribed Invokana for type 2 diabetes and had or need a leg, foot, or toe amputated? You may be entitled to compensation. Final results from 2 large clinical trials showed leg and foot amputations, mostly affecting the toes, occurred about twice as often in patients with type 2 diabetes treated with Invokana as those given a placebo, the FDA announced on its website. As a result, the FDA is requiring new warnings, including a boxed warning, which is reserved for the most serious risks. If you or someone you love has been prescribed Invokana for type 2 diabetes and had or need a leg, foot, or toe amputated, you may be entitled to compensation. How do you protect your rights and fight for the compensation you deserve? You choose the right legal team that has the experience, support staff, and resources to properly handle your claim for compensation for your injuries. Call for a free case review.
The perfect gift
1 carat Forever Us rings are just $9.90. 1 carat 3-stone and halo rings $6.99. Diamond bands $99 to $3.99 per carat, and diamond studs are $5.99 per carat. Thousands of gifts guaranteed to appraise for double. The Jewelry Exchange Direct.
At Beaches, everything's included. For everyone.
That's right, my generation. Yeah, all about a good time. Yeah, all about a good life. You won't believe it.
Beaches All-Inclusive Resorts. Call 1-800-BEACHES.
I mean, I wish I had time to take care of my portfolio, but...
Well, what are you doing tomorrow? 10 a.m.?
Staff meeting.
Noon?
Eating.
3:45?
Oh, compliance training.
6:30.
Sam's baseball practice.
8:30?
Tai Chi. Yeah, so...
That's relaxing. All right, 9:53.
I usually make their lunches then, and I have a little vegan, so... You know.
Wow, you are busy. Wouldn't it be great if you had investments that worked as hard as you do?
Yeah.
Introducing Essential Portfolios, the automated investing solution that lets you focus on your life.
I'm John Roberts, and this is the Fox Report. President Trump returns to his home state ahead of the annual UN General Assembly. The president arriving in New York City, the site of this week's annual meeting. Mr. Trump set to address the assembly on Tuesday for the first time as president, and he is reportedly planning to push his message of UN reform and transparency during that speech. The assembly will tackle some tough issues, with North Korea being one of the biggest. The country vowing to continue developing its weapons program despite new crippling sanctions from the UN. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson says if diplomacy doesn't work, the only thing left is the military option.
If our diplomatic efforts fail, though, our military option will be the only one left. So all of this is backed up by a very strong and resolute military option. But be clear, we seek a peaceful solution to this.
Joining me now is Ambassador John Bolton, former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, a Fox News contributor and a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. The president seems to have a new nickname for Kim Jong-un, tweeting out this morning, "I spoke with President Moon of South Korea last night, asked him how Rocket Man is doing. Long gas lines forming in North Korea. Too bad, exclamation mark." These sanctions, Ambassador, are they beginning to have an effect?
Absolutely not. And I think we need to be clear about this. The first UN sanctions were imposed in 2006. I was there when we did it. And I think you can make a case that the cumulative impact of all of the sanctions since 2006 right up until today on the nuclear and ballistic missile programs has been negligible. Because the sanctions are not enforced by China and Russia. They're not being enforced today by Iran. The North Korean economy is, to begin with, the effect of these sanctions, even if enforced, not slow these programs down. And today we are running out of time. So ironically, although the Trump administration's rhetoric is far tougher than the Obama administration's rhetoric, it's pursuing the same policies, a combination of sanctions and diplomacy. We've tried it for 25 years. It's failed for 25 years. It will fail today.
And yet the president keeps saying we did this for successive administrations for years and years upon end, with no discernible difference in their behavior, and they're doing the same thing. That wouldn't seem to make sense.
This is the power of the government bureaucracy to keep moving in a particular direction that it's been moving in until it's told to turn around. And I think all this talk about a military option really could undermine the president's credibility down the road, because if people ultimately think it's not serious, it will hurt him later. How to show it's serious? He should announce on Tuesday he's ordered the withdrawal of all civilian dependent personnel, diplomatic and military, from South Korea. That would be a signal we're beginning to get serious.
Now, on TV this morning, Rex Tillerson said military is not the preferred option, diplomacy is. We had a briefing from H.R. McMaster and Nikki Haley on Friday. They both said we want to let sanctions work, but they're still keeping this military option on the table. Let's listen to what Ambassador Haley said this morning.
You have to ask the president what fire and fury meant, but I think we all know that basically if North Korea keeps on with this reckless behavior, if the United States has to defend itself or defend its allies in any way, North Korea will be destroyed. And we all know that. We're trying every other possibility that we have, but there's a whole lot of military options on the table.
So, Ambassador, a number of U.S. officials now have said that North Korea will be destroyed in any kind of military action, but lives will be lost on both sides. Is there any military option that doesn't result, in the way Steve Bannon put it, with the deaths of thousands, if not millions of people in South Korea?
No, absolutely. Look, I think the question here is the risk of the military option. If diplomacy fails, which it has with North Korea, I think there's a play with China to reunite the peninsula. I think that's a long shot. Here's the question. When this crisis ends, in a month, 6 months, whatever, the question the American people address is, satisfied if North Korea retains a nuclear and ballistic missile capability to enable it to threaten and to attack the United States into infinity. I reject that. I agree with Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Dunford, who was asked, isn't it unimaginable to consider a military option against North Korea? And he said, no, it's not unimaginable. What's unimaginable to me is leaving North Korea with a nuclear capability.
So what do you think Kim Jong-un's play is here? Does he want to get a missile that is capable of hitting the United States and then say, let's deal?
Yeah, people, I think, are very confused about why North Korea wants many people in the United States buy North Korea's propaganda argument that we just want the missiles to be safe from the United States. North Korea wants these to ultimately take over South Korea. How would they do that? They would threaten us. They would say, you remove your troops from South Korea, seesaw military aid to South Korea, or we will attack an American base.
This isn't just propping up the regime. You think that they want to reunify it on a North Korean
Yeah, and they want to be a power in the region. And it's not just that they would threaten us with missile-tipped nuclear weapons. They could sell these weapons. They could sell them to Iran tomorrow. They could sell them to terrorist groups. They could sell them to other wannabe nuclear powers. That's why I think with this bizarre regime in North Korea, we cannot end this crisis with them still in possession of that capability.
I asked the president aboard Air Force on Thursday, what about North Korea and what about China? What's China doing? He said that China was doing some things and tell us what they were, but clearly China is a key in all of this. Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, addressed that this morning. Let's listen to what he said.
What we've said to them is, look, you have the best information. You have your hand on the valve. You set the valve where you think it's going to create the message that you want to send to this regime, that they must change the path they're on. So we're leaving it in China's hands at this point.
So the talk is, do we start to with China in order to get them to put pressure on North Korea? Is that a wise play?
Well, you know, I listened to Secretary Tillerson in that remark he just made, and it's like on January the 20th of this year. China has been jiving us on North Korea for 25 years because they think they have that North Korea fundamentally our problem. I think we've got to convince China that it's fundamentally their problem too, because if this goes on, Japan will get nuclear weapons and China's stability itself will be threatened. Ultimately, the answer here is the reunification of the peninsula. We eliminate the North Korean regime. We've got to make the argument that's in China's interest. That's the only diplomatic strategy left, and it's a long shot.
Let's quickly turn to the broader picture in the UN General Assembly. The president's speech on Tuesday, we're told he will really kind of develop three themes: protect the American people, promote American prosperity, promote accountability and sovereignty among member nations. Nikki Haley says he's going to slap the right people and hug the right people. Who needs slapping besides North Korea and Iran? Who needs hugging?
Well, I think the president's got a very tough job. I think it'll be a fairly restrained speech. I think those themes are all great. When George W. Bush used to come to the UN, he called it his annual trip to the wax museum because that's the reaction he got. And I think if President Trump walks out and it's a wax museum, he should declare victory.
Which brings me to one final point. You famously said 23 years ago that if you took 10 floors off of the 38-story Secretariat building, it wouldn't make a lick of difference because it's so inefficient there. Do you still feel the same way?
Of course, nothing has changed at the UN, and nothing will change at the UN until we eliminate the way it's funded, eliminate the system of assessed contributions, and make all contributions by member states completely voluntary. That would get their attention.
Ambassador Bolton, always good to talk to you.
Glad to be here.
Good to see you. All right, we'll see you more this week. Fox News has learned that Michael Cohen, longtime attorney for President Trump, will testify before the Senate Intelligence Committee. Cohen confirming that he plans to meet with committee members as they prepare to conduct more interviews this month as part of their investigation into Russia meddling. Cohen says it will be a closed session meeting, much like the ones given to the Senate Judiciary Committee by the president's eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., and the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Congressman Trey Gowdy is adding to the calls for former FBI Chief James Comey to testify before Congress again. Gowdy is seeking answers from Comey concerning the investigation of Hillary Clinton's emails. This after transcripts came to light showing Comey cleared Clinton before interviewing her or other witnesses in the case. Here's former Attorney General Alberto Gonzales on whether that constitutes a crime.
As to whether or not that any of this raises to criminal wrongdoing in connection with the leaking of some of the FBI memo and prejudging the case, whether any of that raises to criminal activity, really, I think from the public record, I think is a stretch. But there are serious consequences that may arise nonetheless. For example, the Inspector General of the Department of Justice is undoubtedly looking at Jim's performance, and they very well may come out with a very harsh indictment of the way Jim exercised his authority as FBI director, and sort of interjecting himself as the prosecutor in this case, when in fact, as the head of the FBI, they are the investigators.
Comey testified in front of Congress back in June regarding allegations that the president pressured him to shut down the Russia investigations. Former presidential candidate Senator Bernie Sanders criticizing the Democratic Party after the loss of the 2016 election.
The current model of the Democratic Party obviously is not working. Republicans control the House, the Senate. They control the White House. They control 2/3 of the governor's offices throughout this country. In my view, Chuck, what we need to do is to reach out to independents. There are a heck of a lot more independents in this country than there are Republicans or Democrats. I am an independent, have always been a Democrat. I've worked within the Democratic caucus in the House and the Senate for over 25 years. I'll continue to do that.
In that television appearance, the Vermont senator also pushed back against Hillary Clinton's claim that he and his supporters contributed to her defeat in last year's presidential election, saying he worked as hard as he could to help Clinton win. The Trump administration working hard to reach a bipartisan agreement on tax reform and immigration policies. Still ahead, how lawmakers are reacting to Trump's plans for the so-called Dreamers.
They came to a basic understanding without the details, without the obvious negotiations that have to follow. And then Chuck and Nancy said to the president and the White House, we're going to put out a press release so it's clear on both sides what we've agreed to. They did exactly that.
Need new floors? Empire Today makes getting beautiful new floors easy. Impossible? Let me show you. Empire brings hundreds of samples to you. We call it Shop at Home. The floors are high quality and come with great warranties. Plus, Empire handles the installation. You don't lift a finger, and the job's done right. Shop at Home, quality floors, professional installation. That's Empire Today.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today.
Booking a flight at the last minute doesn't have to be expensive. Just go to Priceline. It's the best place to book a flight a few days before my trip and still save up to 40%. Just tap and go. And while I'm gone, I can even check on my baby with this doggy cam. Oh, Jax, you're such a good boy. No, Jax, what are you doing? Bad dog. And if you need to get back home, like right now, Priceline has you covered.
If you have moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's, and your symptoms have left you with the same view, it may be time for a different perspective. If other treatments haven't worked well enough, ask your doctor about Entyvio, the only biologic developed and approved just for UC and Crohn's. Entyvio works by focusing right in the GI tract to help control damaging inflammation and is clinically proven to begin helping many patients achieve both symptom relief as well as remission. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. While not reported with Entyvio, PML, a rare serious brain infection caused by a virus, may be possible. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, experience frequent infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Liver problems can occur with Entyvio. If your UC or Crohn's medication isn't working for you, ask your gastroenterologist about Entyvio. Entyvio, relief and remission within reach.
When only the best will do, one-of-a-kind Tempur-Pedic delivers. Only Tempur material precisely conforms to your weight, shape, and temperature. It provides up to twice as much pressure-relieving power, so you won't toss and turn. And Tempur-Pedic is the best at minimizing motion transfer from your partner. You'll wake up feeling like a champion. Savings end soon. Through September 17th, save up to $500 on select adjustable sets. Find your exclusive retailer at TempurPedic.com.
Aw, thanks for loading, sweet. Ooh, burnt on gravy? Gotta rinse that. Nope. No way. Nada. Really?
Dish issues? Throw it all in. New Cascade Platinum powers through even burnt on gravy.
Nice.
Cascade.
Andre is confident, but when it comes to mortgages, he's less confident. Fortunately, there's Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently.
Fox News Channel on Sirius XM. Your favorite shows on Channel 114. Plus, every story, every 15 minutes. Fox News headlines 24/7 at Channel 115.
Washington lawmakers racing against the clock after President Trump announced he would end the law that hundreds of thousands of young undocumented immigrants, the so-called dreamers, from deportation. Congressional leaders are reacting on how this will impact the future of immigration reform. Here's Illinois Senator Dick Durbin earlier on Fox News Sunday.
We're going forward. We're going forward with the understanding that we can work with the White House to come up with an agreement that includes DACA, that includes citizenship for those who are protected under the DREAM Act, and also has a substantial commitment to increased border protection. Those are the two pillars of this understanding.
Garrett Tenney joins us now live from Washington. Garrett, what are Republicans saying about this so-called understanding?
Well, John, there's still some disagreement over exactly what that understanding entails, or if there was an agreement over one at all. In his weekly press conference, House Speaker Paul Ryan said nothing has been agreed to and that nothing has changed in regards to where Republicans stand on that issue.
If we don't fix the problems we have with border security and enforcement, and we would only fix DACA, we're going to have another DACA problem a decade from now. That's the symptom of the problem. So let's fix both. And I think people are beginning to understand that our position has not changed. It is going to stay the same.
Instead, Speaker Ryan characterized this as the beginning of a negotiation, not with Democrats, but first among Republicans to see what kind of immigration reform they can agree on. That's a tall order in and of itself, though, because a number of conservative lawmakers are staunchly against any deal that gives dreamers a path to citizenship. And Iowa Congressman Steve King made that clear this week when he said the president will have a hard time getting reelected if amnesty is included in any deal over DACA. John?
So what ideas are Republicans looking at to try to reach some sort of an agreement?
Well, you have ideas in the works from a number of different groups. House Speaker Paul Ryan has created a working group that's comprised of GOP lawmakers from various factions in the party to see what kind of immigration bill could have enough support to pass. But the conservative House Freedom Caucus, as well as the bipartisan House Problem Solvers Caucus, are also working on their own pieces of legislation. Whatever deal is reached, though, Senator Tom Cotton is pushing for it to include his bill, which would create a merit-based immigration system. And today on NBC's Meet the Press, he said it's an idea the president says he supports.
I think the president has said publicly that there's not a deal, that he wants to see a deal. In fact, he called me a couple nights ago to say there's no deal. He wants to make sure that we protect the interest of American workers. They want to focus on a package of benefits for illegal immigrants. We want to put American interests, or American workers' interests first.
And one thing that both sides seem to agree on, though, is that any deal with DACA will not include the president's border wall, which the president has said he still plans to pursue, just not as part of this deal. John?
Yeah, he has said he does want strong border security protections. We'll see if he can get that. But I think this split in the Republican Party, Garrett, is one of the reasons why he's reaching out to Democrats.
Absolutely, and it's paid dividends in the past, as we've seen for him. We'll see going forward if that continues to be in the case, particularly on this, because Republicans are very divided on this issue, much like we saw with health care as well.
Sure. Garrett Tenney, thanks so much. Congress also working on another bipartisan deal, tax reform, with Republicans claiming they are close to a deal. Ellison Barber has more now from our D.C. bureau.
Hi, John. Tax reform is arguably the most important legislative issue for the White House this year. It's top of their to-do list, but far from an easy task. House Republicans say they'll release details of their plan the week of September 25th.
Details about our business and individual rates that we propose going forward on tax reform, a dramatic simplification of how we tax so families can keep more of what they earn and our businesses can compete anywhere in the world and win, especially here at home.
A small group of Republicans are negotiating tax reform, the so-called Big Six. Kevin Brady, the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, is part of the group. But before tax reform, Congress needs to settle on a budget resolution.
That gives us the runway, the rules that allow us to land tax reform on. When that budget is complete, the Ways and Means Committee will bring forward and begin action on tax reform.
The White House says they want tax reform to be bipartisan. Senate Minority Whip Dick Durbin had this to say on Fox News Sunday.
There will be differences, but that's what the Senate is all about. Sitting down with Democrats and Republicans, and the Republicans are in the majority, and really working out an amendment process that comes to a conclusion where both sides have to compromise to some degree. That's where you get the best legislation, and that's where you get something the American people can trust.
Last week, President Trump invited a small bipartisan group of senators to the White House for dinner to discuss this very topic. John?
Ellison Barber in Washington. Ellison, thanks. A mysterious illness at the U.S. Embassy in Cuba. What the State Department is considering after nearly 24 Americans become ill.
We have it under evaluation. It's a very serious issue with respect to the harm that certain individuals have suffered. We've brought some of those people home. It's under review.
They're some of the most influential figures in the world. Now, get ready for a side of them you've never seen before.
Want the true story? Absolutely.
Harvey Levin goes inside their cherished possessions and gets the details behind them.
I wanted people to either like me or fear me.
And I was laughed at, I was humiliated.
But he always viewed my job as a hobby.
Why would I retire from having fun? Oh yeah, I'll do it all over again.
The objects in people's homes define who they are. Now, witness their stories on Objectified. Premiering tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Fox News Channel.
Esurance does insurance a smarter way, which saves money. They offer paperless billing and automatic payments, which saves paper, which saves money. They offer home and auto coverage, so you can bundle your policies, which saves hassle, which saves money. And they offer a single deductible, which means you only pay once when something like this happens, which saves money. Esurance was born online and built to save. And when they save, you save. That's home and auto insurance for the modern world. Esurance, an Allstate company. Click or call.
Evany, the mobile game. Let them come. Let your reign begin. Evany, the mobile game.
Download now. Shop like a pro at Bass Pro Shops for huge savings, like savings of 40% on Redhead Camo Tech hoodies. Save $20 on a Muddy 10 megapixel game camera bundle. And save $50 on Lacrosse Alpha Light rubber boots at Bass Pro Shops.
Ending the opioid epidemic. Chris Christie on his new White House role. Plus, forget hackers. The real tech threat you should be worried about on The Story.
I won this 55-inch TV for less than $30 on DealDash.com.
I got this $1,200 computer for $100.71.
These aren't actors, they're real people who got real savings at DealDash.com, the fair and honest bidding site.
On Deal Dash, I got this $349 mixer for less than $25.
iPads sell for as little as $5, laptops for $10, and professional cameras for as little as $20.
I won this iPhone for $8.48 at DealDash.com.
I got all this for less than $50 on DealDash.com.
Try Deal Dash today. If you don't win, get your money back, but hurry, everything must go. Go to DealDash.com now to start bidding.
In my first 4 months on Deal Dash, I won 104 auctions.
And shipping is always free.
Visit DealDash.com and start bidding today.
We just had our first son, and we were shopping for our first home. We found one that was absolutely perfect. But we were scared to lose it because friends told us getting a mortgage was really complicated. Luckily, we found Guaranteed Rate, and our experience was nothing like our friends. It was actually quick and simple. It only took minutes to get approved and get a really low rate. And now, the home is ours. It's a dream.
Experience the Guaranteed Rate difference at Rate.com today.
The difference of Guaranteed Rates digital mortgage, which only takes minutes to get the perfect loan. The difference of the intuitive loan finder that provides you with real-time rates and loan options. And the difference of amazing low rates that could save you thousands of dollars, all with the help of an experienced loan officer.
Everything was so easy. I still can't believe my kids will grow up here.
Visit rate.com or call 1-888-288-6644 today. Guaranteed Rate. Our difference makes all the difference.
The Trump administration now considering whether to close down the U.S. Embassy in Havana following unexplained incidents harming the health of American diplomats. At least 21 U.S. citizens have been affected, and Secretary of State Rex Tillerson calling this a very serious issue. Brian Yanis joins us now from New York with more. Brian, why go after the Cuban government when the State Department isn't even sure that they are responsible for these attacks?
Yeah, it's a good point, John. The fact of the matter is the State Department believes the Cuban government is at least responsible for failing to protect American diplomats in Havana, even though the U.S. has not officially blamed anyone for these attacks. And the State Department believes so-called sonic acoustic attacks left U.S. diplomats and their families ill, some with permanent hearing loss or concussions, others with nausea, headaches, and ear ringing. Officials say these acoustic attacks happened as recently as a month ago, and even experts are baffled despite an ongoing investigation and no clear evidence of who is responsible. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson indicated today the United States is considering closing the U.S. Embassy in Cuba as punishment against the communist government.
We have it under evaluation. It's a very serious issue with respect to the harm that certain individuals have suffered. We've brought some of those people home. It's under review.
Now, Tillerson's statement comes just 2 days after 5 Republicans wrote a letter urging Tillerson to hold Cuba responsible for failing to protect America's diplomats. The letter reading in part, quote, "We urge you to remind the Cuban government of its obligation and to demand that it take verifiable action to remove these threats to our personnel and their families. Furthermore, we ask that you immediately declare all accredited Cuban diplomats in the United States persona non grata, and if Cuba does not take tangible action, close the U.S. Embassy in Havana." Now, John, remember in 2015, both countries reopened their embassies after 50 years of not having either of the embassies in Havana or Washington open.
The situation is so bizarre. It's described by some diplomats as you're in one part of the room, you don't hear anything. You go lie on the bed, and it's like the entire room is vibrating. What's the Cuban government saying?
You know, Raul Castro did speak to the top diplomat in Havana, John, and he is really saying that his country has no idea where this mysterious attack is coming from. The Associated Press describing Castro as, quote, befuddled and concerned, even granting the FBI authority to travel to Havana and investigate. Analysts have suggested a rogue group of Cubans opposed to stronger ties to the U.S. may be responsible, or maybe even a third country like Russia, John.
Very, very strange. Brian Yanis for us. Brian, thanks so much.
Of course.
More Fox Report coming right up.
Go.
Test drive the new 2018 Acura TLX with precision all-wheel steering.
Yeah. I know you can feel the movement.
Lease the 2018 Acura TLX for $329 a month for well-qualified customers. Visit your Acura dealer today.
Brian, I just need to know if the customer app will be live Monday.
Can we at least analyze customer traffic?
Can we push the offer online?
Brian, I just had a quick question. Brian.
Legacy technology can handcuff any company. But yes is here.
You're saying the new app will go live Monday?
Yeah. With help from HP, we can finally work the way we want to. With the right mix of hybrid IT, everything computes.
Having moderate to severe plaque psoriasis is not always easy. It's a long-distance run, and you have the determination to keep going. Humira has a proven track record of being prescribed for nearly 10 years. Humira works inside the body to target and help block a specific source of inflammation that contributes to symptoms. In clinical trials, most adults taking Humira were clear or almost clear, and many saw 75% and even 90% clearance in just 4 months.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nerve nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Join over 250,000 people who have chosen Humira. Ask about the #1 prescribed biologic by dermatologists. Humira and go.
Here's to the heroes, America's small business owners. And here's to the heroes behind the heroes who use their expertise to keep those businesses covered. And here's to the heroes behind the heroes behind the heroes who brought us delicious Gyros. Actually, the Gyro hero owns Vero's Gyros, so he should have been with those first heroes. That's better. So to recap, small business owners are heroes, and our heroes help heroes be heroes when they're not eating Gyros delivered by... you know what I mean.
People would ask me in different countries that we traveled, what is your nationality? And I would always answer Hispanic. So when I got my Ancestry DNA results, it was a shocker. I'm from all nations, and it puts a hunger in your heart to want to know more.
Somewhere in the Caribbean, there are 5-star luxury resorts where it's all included, all unlimited, all the time. Sandals, where love is all you need, because everything else is included. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
A new show is coming to the Fox News channel on Sunday nights. TMZ creator and executive producer Harvey Levin hosts a new series called Objectified, which gives viewers an inside look into the lives of the world's biggest stars. Here he is discussing how he came up with the idea for the show.
I'll tell you what the idea, where it came from. A realtor called me up. I was thinking of I love autobiographies and biographies, and I wanted to do a show about the life stories of really interesting people, but I didn't want to sit in a sofa and do it because it's been done that way. And so a realtor called me up one day and said, you know, you should look at Steven Spielberg's house one day, because it's amazing. He's lived there for like 40 years, and he's thinking of selling it. This was a house in Malibu. And he said, you walk through it, and it's got like everything in his life. It's got, you know, from Jaws and everything. And I thought, well, that's the way to tell a story. What you do is you divide somebody's life up into 7 chapters, and the chapters will vary from person to person. Each chapter is represented by an object that person chose to keep over the years. They choose the object, and it gets you into the story, into the period, into why it was significant, and the lessons they learn along the way. And it makes it where they're more in control, they're more invested. And I think what we ended up getting is some very intimate conversations where even they were surprised about how things connected in their life.
Objectified premieres up next on Fox. In the first episode, Levin finds out what will surprise viewers most about Judge Judy. And that's How Fox Reports this Sunday, September 17th, 2017. I'm John Roberts. Thanks for watching.
I'm Chris Wallace. North Korea fires another missile while London is hit by a terror attack as President Trump prepares to take the world stage and address the UN.
North Korea is now a global threat, and it requires a global response.
We've been kicking the can down the road, and we're out of road.
I have no problem kicking it to General Mattis because I think he has plenty of options.
We'll discuss foreign hotspots and preview the president's message to the international community on North Korea, Iran, and terror with National Security Advisor General H.R. McMaster. Then, does President Trump have an immigration deal with Chuck and Nancy or not?
We have reached an understanding on this issue. We have to work out details.
We had an agreement to move forward.
The wall to me is vital. If I don't get the wall, then we will become the obstruction.
We'll break down the DACA discussion and whether there is a new balance of power in Washington with 2 Senate leaders, Democrat Dick Durbin and Republican Roy Blunt. Plus, big tech comes under fire. We'll ask our Sunday panel about how Russia used Facebook in the 2016 election and our Power Player of the Week. breaking barriers while keeping some of sport's biggest stars in the game. What does it mean to you to be the first female head doctor in the history of both Major League Baseball and the NFL? All right now on Fox News Sunday. And hello again from Fox News in Washington. The United Nations General Assembly has been called the Super Bowl of diplomacy. And this week, President Trump goes to New York to join other world leaders there for the first time. With plenty of hot spots to discuss, what will the president focus on and what action will he seek? Joining us live here in Washington, the president's national security advisor, General H.R. McMaster. General, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Thanks, Chris. Great to be here.
As we say, President Trump speaks to the UN General Assembly on Tuesday, his first time on that stage. How important does he think the speech is, and how will he fit it into his appeal to world leaders, into his doctrine of America First?
Well, he thinks the speech is a tremendous opportunity, obviously, to reach so many world leaders at the same time and to emphasize really three themes. First is to protect the American people. The second is to promote American prosperity. And the third is really to help promote accountability and sovereignty. And those three themes will allow him to communicate his vision for America's role in the world, but then also what his expectations are for international bodies like the United Nations, but also of other nations. The expectation that they ought to protect the sovereignty of their citizens and respect the sovereignty of other nations.
Well, let's unpack that, and let's start with issue number one, and that, of course, is North Korea, and the president tweeted about that this morning. Let's put it up on the screen. The president said, "I spoke with President Moon of South Korea last night, asked him, asked him how Rocket Man is doing. Long gas lines forming in North Korea, too bad." Well, before I get to the substance, Rocket Man, have you heard that from the president before, or is that a new one?
Well, that's a new one, I think, maybe for the president, but it reminds me of a cover of The Economist a few years ago, portraying him as Rocket Man. But of course, that's where the rockets are coming from. Rockets, though, that we ought to probably not laugh too much about because they do represent a grave threat to everyone.
All right,
as Secretary Tillerson said at the outset, it is a global problem.
Let's pick up on that. Here's what you had to say on Friday.
We've been kicking the can down the road, and we're out of road. And so for those who have said and have been commenting about the lack of a military option, there is a military option.
General, what does that mean, out of road? The fact is you want to give sanctions more time. You're not about to go to war.
Well, it really depends on how we see this threat continue to manifest itself and our judgment about how much time we have. We're out of road because in the past, the approach taken to the problem of North Korea and the Kim regime over decades has been to enter into long, drawn-out negotiations that then deliver an unsatisfactory agreement, an agreement that then the North Korean regime breaks. And what that agreement does, though, that's particularly dangerous oftentimes, what has all the time in the past, is lock in the status quo as the new normal. And this regime is so close now to threatening the United States and others with a nuclear weapon that we really have to move with a great deal of urgency on sanctions, on diplomacy, and on preparing, if necessary, a military option.
So how do you draw that line? How do you decide we've reached the point that we have to move to a military option now? How long do you give sanctions?
Well, the president has asked all of us to work on this, so we can't really talk about specific timelines or what conclusions we're coming to. But we're working very hard to make everything we're doing militarily, diplomatically, economically, and with our allies and partners to be as effective as we can in what we recognize is not really much time.
All right. The administration, I want to pick up on one part of that. The administration talks about getting tough with North Korea's trading partners. Here's Treasury Secretary Mnuchin this week.
We will use economic sanctions to bring North Korea to the table.
You're saying stopping trade with China?
Stopping trade with anybody. Nobody would be off the table.
But the U.S. did $648 billion of trade with China last year. They're our single largest supplier of imported goods and our third largest market for export of goods. General, we're not about to cut off trade with China. It would crater our economy.
Well, this is an indication, isn't it, of how serious this problem is with North Korea and why it's not in all of our interest to work together to resolve it. And so, of course, we need China to help as much as they can. You know, they have a great deal of coercive economic power over North Korea. And certainly we think, and the Chinese agree, it is in their interest to have a denuclearized peninsula.
But I mean, let's be serious here. We're not going to cut off all trade with China.
Well, we may have to take some steps, though, that restrict trade in any way that we can with this regime, to choke off the resources that allow this regime to continue to prioritize their military efforts, their missile efforts, their nuclear efforts over the well-being of their own people.
Well, let me just pick up on that at one point. Isn't it possible, in fact, isn't it likely that Kim has decided that the key to his survival is to have a nuclear capability? He talked this week about having equilibrium with the U.S. and that there's nothing that can be done diplomatically, nothing that can be done economically that will stop him from pursuing that effort.
Well, what he should conclude is exactly the opposite, that the continued pursuit of this nuclear capability makes him more and more vulnerable and makes him less and less secure.
Let's turn to another subject. The president is also going to talk about getting tougher on Iran at the United Nations. But this week, he had the opportunity to reimpose sanctions that were lifted as part of the nuclear deal. He didn't do that. So for all his talk about tearing up the agreement, I know he has to recertify in October whether or not they're complying with it. For all his talk about tearing up the agreement, in fact, isn't he going to live with it and try to find other ways to confront Iran on other fronts?
Well, we have to see what live with it means, right? Well, live with it can't be giving this regime cover to develop a nuclear capability. And so a lot of things have to happen immediately. Rigorous enforcement of that agreement. It is under enforced now. We know Iran has already violated parts of the agreement.
But the IAEA says that they're complying with it, sir.
The IAEA has identified, and we have identified, some of these breaches that Iran has then corrected. But what does that tell you about Iranian behavior? They're not just walking up to the line on the agreement, they're crossing the line at times. So there has to be much more rigorous enforcement of the deal, and we have to recognize the fundamental flaws in this deal. It is, as the president said, it is the worst deal. It gave all these benefits to the Iranian regime up front, and these benefits now they're using to foment this humanitarian catastrophe in the greater Middle East, to this broad range of destructive behavior, including support for terrorist organizations like Hezbollah, support for proxy forces like the 80% of the effective fighters fighting on the side of the brutal, murderous Assad regime in Syria are Iranian proxies. And so we have to recognize the broad range of Iranian destabilizing behavior, and we can't allow this deal to enable that. Their missile programs, for example, the way they are seeding this Iranian network with more and more destructive capability that places all of their neighbors at risk.
I want to turn to that next subject which you brought up, which is terror. The president is going to call at the UN for the world to continue its war on terror. Here's what he had to say this week.
We have done better in 8 months of my presidency than the previous 8 years against ISIS.
But I don't have to tell you, a bomb went off in a London subway this week. It's the 5th terror attack in Great Britain just this year. And experts say as we succeed, and we are succeeding, in pushing ISIS back in Iraq, shrinking its territory, it is only getting them to focus more on launching attacks in Europe and the U.S.
Well, the president has told us that we have to do 3 fundamental things very effectively. The first is to ensure that these terrorists have no safe havens and support bases that allow them to organize, plan, and conduct attacks against us and against our allies. The second thing is we have to cut off their financing, the way that they resource these kinds of operations. And the third, we have to defeat their evil ideology. And this has a lot to do with some of Prime Minister May's top priorities, which is to constrict their ability to use the internet to communicate effectively with each other. And then, of course, none of this is a substitute for important law enforcement actions across the world and improving even further our ability to share information and to gain visibility of these terrorist networks and defeat them.
There is a report this weekend, I'm sure you read, that says that President Trump has decided he is not going to pull out of the Paris Climate Accord, that we may reduce our commitment to curb greenhouse gas emissions, but he's going to live with the agreement, stay in the agreement with a reduced commitment. Is that true, sir?
No, it's false. That's a false report. The president decided to pull out of the Paris Accord because it was a bad deal for the American people and because it was a bad deal for the environment. It gave the worst polluters the ability to continue polluting and emitting carbon and without significantly reducing those levels. The president is committed to the cleanest water on Earth, the cleanest air on Earth, to an energy policy that reduces carbon emissions, but then also provides clean fossil fuels to generate growth in this country and globally. And these priorities he felt we could not pursue effectively within this flawed agreement.
So he's out of the Paris Climate Accord.
He's out of the Paris Climate Accord, but he has said the door's open. Just if you look at what he said on the day that he announced withdrawing from the accord, he said at some point in the future, if there can be a deal that addresses these fundamental flaws.
But the allies say they're not going to renegotiate.
Well, the president's ears are open, though, if at some point they decide that they can come forward with an agreement that addresses the president's very legitimate concerns about Paris.
Okay, one final area. It's widely known in Washington that you and Steve Bannon have sharply different views of the world. One of the first things you did as National Security Advisor is kick him out as a regular official member of the NSC. He has dismissed you and some of the other advisors on the NSC as globalists. He's sharply disagreed with the decision to commit, to double down in Afghanistan. Question, is the administration better off with Steve Bannon out of the White House?
Well, the administration is better off when we can serve the president by integrating and coordinating across all of our departments and agencies with our key allies and partners, and to present the president with multiple options. And then based on his decisions, to help the president implement these policies that prioritize protecting and advancing the interests of the American people. And so what's important is to have an inclusive process, not to try to manipulate into a particular decision or to advance your own agenda. You know, we're advancing the president's agenda, and we're advancing policies and strategies that are for the American people.
Well, you strike me as a pretty straight talker. Are you saying that Steve Bannon was manipulating, that he was trying to work around and advance his own agenda?
Well, the National Security Council, I think, has served the president well in bringing him multiple options. There were some who tried to operate outside of that process for their own narrow agendas, and that didn't serve the president well.
And does that include Steve Bannon, sir?
I think this has been too hyped on one individual. I mean, this reports of feuding and everything. It just really didn't even happen. I mean, we had our doors open to all perspectives within the National Security Council, and it was up to those individuals whether they would walk through that door and permit and participate in an open and transparent process.
General McMaster, thank you. Thanks for your time. You're a busy guy. We covered a lot of ground there in about 12 minutes.
It's always a pleasure, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be watching the president's speech, of course, on Tuesday to the UN, sir.
Thank you.
Up next, we'll talk with two leading senators about the president's move to cut deals with Democrats. How will it affect the Trump agenda? And how long will it last?
Depend Silhouette Active Fit Briefs feature a thin design for complete comfort.
They say move it or lose it. And at my age, I'm moving more than ever. Because getting older is inevitable, but feeling older, that's something I control.
Get a free sample at Depend.com.
Do you toss and turn all night? Can't sleep because your spouse is snoring or wake up with neck pain or a headache? If you're not getting the sleep you need, now you can with MyPillow.
I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and I had all these problems too. I tried every pillow out there and nothing worked, so I invented MyPillow. My patented fill does something no other pillow can do. MyPillow lets you adjust it to your exact individual needs regardless of sleep position and stays that way all night long so you get the best sleep of your life.
Before MyPillow, I had difficulty sleeping through the night. Now with MyPillow,
I have a good night's sleep every night.
I tried a couple other more expensive pillows that were the foam pillows or memory foam, and it just didn't really work. As soon as I tried the MyPillow, it worked out great.
Other pillows go flat, causing you to fold them over or use your arm for support, which can cause pain. Hard foam pillows can raise your head too high and heat up during the night, making you very uncomfortable. But the revolutionary MyPillow has patented fill that won't go flat and keeps your neck supported and aligned to your exact individual need. MyPillow helps you get and stay in deep sleep all night long.
Take advantage of my famous offer and get 2 MyPillow premiums for one low price. Call or go to MyPillow.com. Be sure to use the promo code and I'll give you free shipping. I invented MyPillow because I believe everyone should get a great night's sleep. I do all of my own manufacturing in my home state of Minnesota, and every part of MyPillow is made in the USA. It's machine washable and dryable, and it comes with my 60-day money-back guarantee and a full 10-year warranty. I personally guarantee that MyPillow will be the most comfortable pillow you'll ever own.
Call or go to MyPillow.com now, and Mike will send you 2 of his premium MyPillows for one low price. Use the promo code on your screen for this exclusive TV offer, and Mike will include free shipping. Don't delay. Get 2 MyPillow premiums for one low price, plus free shipping. Order now.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Hi, Phil Swift here for Flex Tape. The super strong waterproof tape that can instantly patch, bond, seal, and repair.
Flex Tape's triple thick adhesive virtually welds itself to the surface, instantly stopping the toughest leaks.
And now you can even make repairs underwater. Flex Tape is super strong, and once it's on, it holds on tight.
And for emergency auto repair, Flex Tape keeps its grip. Flex Tape comes super wide, so you can easily patch large holes.
To show you the power of Flex Tape, I sawed this boat in half and repaired it with only Flex Tape. Not only does Flex Tape hold the boat together, but the inside is completely dry. Yeah, down there! You get a large roll of Flex Tape and a handy can for just $19.99. Call now.
President Trump had dinner with Democratic leaders Chuck and Nancy this week, and they seem to have cooked up at least the outline of a deal on immigration that has many of the most devoted Trump supporters worried. So where do we stand on DACA, and who's driving the agenda now here in Washington? Joining us from Chicago, Dick Durbin, the Senate's #2 Democrat, and here in Washington, Republican Senator Roy Blunt. Well, gentlemen, let's start with the big question here in Washington, the most immediate question. Does President Trump have a deal with former Speaker Pelosi and Democratic leader Chuck Schumer when it comes to DACA or not? And here's part of what was a shifting conversation on Thursday.
The wall is going to be built. It'll be funded a little bit later.
It was a very, very positive step for the president to commit to DACA protections without insisting on the inclusion of or even a debate about the border wall.
They cannot obstruct the wall. The wall to me is vital. If I don't get the wall, then we will become the obstruction.
Senator Durbin, I want to push on 2 specific points. Is there a deal to protect the Dreamers without funding for the wall? And is there a deal to give the Dreamers a path to citizenship?
Well, there's a basic understanding. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi met with the president Thursday night. They came to a basic understanding without the details, without the obvious negotiations that have to follow. And then Chuck and Nancy